Hello, lovely souls. Welcome to the Conversation with MJ, where we are going to embark on a journey of connection, growth, discovery together. I'm your host, MJ, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this exhilarating ride through realms of inspiration, wisdom, and insight. So we're going to deep dive into the heart of what it means to live a fulfilling life, to pursue our passions, and to unlock our greatest potential. Each episode is a celebration of human connection and a testament to the power of authenticity and a reminder that we are all on this journey together. So get ready to be inspired, get ready to be empowered, and get ready to ignite your inner fire, because here at Conversations with MJ, the adventure never ends. So join us with every moment an opportunity to shine. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, please leave a comment, and the show will be starting shortly. See you soon. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. It is so good to be back in front of my desktop and actually giving real lives of like how I want to. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Monday, the beginning of the weekend. I hope everything's going well. So things is getting kind of crazy out here. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in YouTube in general, but definitely Blktube, right? So you know me, I like to come and give y'all the Blktube news and everything like that. And so let me go ahead and pull this down. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. So, what is going on in Blktube news? Let me have this all set up and get it all together. All right. I hope everyone is having a lovely night. I know if you're not here and present, we have the replay game, so I appreciate you nonetheless. But what we're going to talk about tonight, there's a few people who had came out about some very alarming things, and I want to discuss it tonight, okay? The first one I'm going to give off is there was a message that was delivered by a content creator on Blktube, which is named is Cellulite Podcast. Now, there's a lot of hidden messages within this message, but I think that it will reach the most people who understand what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and play this right now, and then we're going to move on to the next factor of this segment for today, okay? So let me go ahead and do that. Let me put on some nice music in the background music. Okay, got that going. All right, so let me pull up the first video. All right, so again, this is from our content creator, Cellulite Podcast. He had a message to give to Black YouTube today. I think that we're going to listen for a little bit of it, and then we're going to move on to the next segment. But I thought that this is something that we should actually pay attention to. And if my moderators are in the chat, please drop a link to Cellulite's channel, because I think he is currently on now talking about the remaining of the situation that is going on in this space. But I definitely believe that he had a message that I think will resonate with anybody in this space. So this is why I am going to play some of his video that he did later on, earlier today. Okay, so here we go.
What up, though? What's happening? What's happening? Come on, in. Double tap the screen, hit the light. Man. Recent events got me thinking about some shit, right? And if the shoe fit, wear it. If it don't, then let it be. But a thought came to my head as I was sitting back and I was thinking about it, right? And the thought that came to me was the title of the stream. Thought was separate where they celebrate. The synopsis that comes with it is every celebration ain't for you, even if it's about you. Because you may be the focal point of the celebration, but it's not for you. It's really for somebody else. And where they congregate while they celebrate, you gotta separate. That's why you gotta move to your own tune. And no, I ain't rapping. I damn sure ain't capping. I'm just riding up the freeway. Stay strapping. No, don't give me the rapping. I don't know how to rap. Listen, the Cheeto channel. But anywho, I'm gonna give it to you straight, right? Because they smile in your face, or they might move around you to go to who it is who they're trying to move to. But you got to recognize what position you play and they play. All of this shit is really, truly funny. And this is why certain things is happening the way that it is. This is why certain moves being made the way that it is. Because when you remove you from the situation, you really see who's who. If you leave yourself in that situation, you got to recognize, are you going to dinner with the smucks, or are you the smuck at the dinner? Because you damn sure you want to be served, you just don't want to be served up. And when you recognize the party that you at, that's when you take a real good look at the room and you take a step back. Everything is all whispers and smiles, clappy, snappy, and happy. But when you recognize your position in the room, you got to do what's best for you. And I see what's best for me. And I ain't trying to be a monolith nor an influence to nobody. I'm just calling it like I see it. I made my commitment. I completed my commitment. And now it's on the new things. One door is closed and a new chapter is open. But I'm taking heed to everything that I see in front of me. Because this internet shit is funny as hell. But it's like I said a multitude of times before. Separate where you congregate. Because where they go to congregate, they go to celebrate. And is it for you or about you? I've been noticing. See, they have their own agendas. And when people got their own agendas, they gonna move in the way that they move. And everybody gonna say the shit that they say. Listen, I don't give a fuck if I go live for the next month and only have 3 people watch my shit. I'm still cool. Everybody always want to talk that shit. Oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that to get your numbers up. Listen, I started my shit by myself, and I'ma build this shit regardless. Don't get mad at the addition to my life just because your life is. But it's the shit that people do. It's the shit that people do, and it's the moves that they make. And I just sit back and watch. I'm not. I don't even always got to call it out because 9 times out of 10, people are going to really truly expose themselves for the shit that they do. And when they do it, you got to believe them. You got to trust them when they make the move that they make. Trust them. When they do fucked up shit, trust them. Period. Now you got motherfuckers all upset because they've been dished to the side or tossed in the wind, pissed in the bucket. Now they upset that they got to build shit their way because they know that their way is not the way. Their way is not the way. Hence why it is that they try to jump from team to team, chasing the dream. But they'll figure it out in the end. No matter what skin color, no matter what shade you in, you'll never blend. That's why you niggas is funny. And I ain't just talking about you males either. I'm talking about you bitches too. That's why you funny. Because it was all hype while the train was moving. When you do what they want you to do, then they back you. When you do what you want to do, then they attack you. Understand what I'm saying? When you do what you want to do, they gonna attack you. But when you do what they want you to do, they gonna back you. But I still ask the question, why the fuck is you here? You didn't approach to promote, you approached to demote. And then when motherfuckers move that certain type of way, now you want to ask how the hell you stay afloat. No, don't worry about how I stay afloat. Worry about what you doing, the fucked up shit that you did. See, if it's my car and you the driver of my car and you fuck up in my car, I'm taking responsibility, not the other way around. I'm not gonna piss poor it. I'm not gonna water it down. I ain't gonna minute it. No, none of that shit. I'm gonna take responsibility for what's mine. As you come in, double tap that motherfucking screen. Drop a 1 in the chat, say hi, something. I see it's 5 y'all up in this thing. But nah, don't talk to me about accountability when most of you motherfuckers can't even account accountability. And nah, I didn't stutter right there. I said it on purpose. You can't account the accountability.
All right, so shout out to Mr. Cellulite. Mr. Cellulite is actually live right now. So my mods, please go ahead and put the link down for his chat again for any newcomers that's coming into the chat. He is live right now. Okay, he's going to explain more about the hidden messages and the messages that he will stay in today. All right. Now, I want people to understand. I know there might be people who are watching who probably don't know him or probably can care less about him or don't see him in a whatever type of light. He's not your type of cup of tea, right? But what I want you to do, I want you to remove paying attention who the messenger is and listen to the message, okay? The message has a lot in there, all right? If you're really paying attention, remove the messenger and listen to the message, okay? There's a lot of things that's going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of plays being made behind the scenes. This correlates back to what I stated in my last little short live stream, my blackout stream at work, about predators and demons, right? And predators and demons is not only just like the ones who wants to physically harm you or physically take things away from you. There is also the ones who want to affect you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, challenge your moral fiber. These are attacks that will be happening across the board. And remember, we are in the era with those type of people feel emboldened to do so. So this is why you need to stay on float, be aware, right? They will come as a friend, they will come as supportive. Okay? But time will tell exactly what the hell they're there for. All right. And before I pull on, shout out to Blaze, shout out to Jen for coming and supporting. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Shout out to Flora for coming and supporting. Miss Jalen, as always. Thank you for coming and supporting. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Please shout out to my sis TMKC. And TMKC, if you want to, you are most welcome to drop your channel down so other people can come and visit your great content that you got going on. So shout out to y'all for stepping up and showing support to your old girl, right? And then there's also a little more information back towards what Cellulite was talking about. Okay, so let me pull up an image. Let's see if I can find it. Don't mind me, guys. I'm blind. You know what I'm saying? I'm blind. You're going to have to forgive me. Is this the image that I want? Let's see. Let's see if this is it. No, this is not the image that I wanted. Not yet, anyway. Darn it. Darn it. Darn it all to hell. Where is it at? Okay, here it is. Yes. So I also want you guys to go to Raw Be Privileged channel. Shout out to the lady. Go like and subscribe. If you look at her last video that she did yesterday, right? You will understand why Mr. Cellulite Podcast had to do a live stream in his car today and why he is actually live right now. And it was a very good stream. Go check it out. You will know more details and more information that is going on in the space. And shout out to that sister and Love Experience Lola, that is her sister. Shout out to them. If anybody, please drop Raw B Privilege channel link in the chat if you want to go and see her video that she did last night. Please drop it in the chat for me, Maz. Go check out both of these two content creators. They are Mr. and Mrs. Raw B Cellulite G, you know what I'm saying? And you will have an understanding more in totality about what is going on. So shout out to these individuals. Keep on doing the work. Keep on doing a good job. And then it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? As long as you keep your head up and you do what you have to do, it doesn't matter about the naysayers, right? So shout out to them. Shout out to them. Okay, so Blaze said, I didn't catch the entire video, but it sounds like one of the points Cell was making is that you got to be ready to. Yes, exactly. People will change up. Today we're cool, but yes, exactly. See, this is why I mess with you, Blaze, because you understand things and it seems like you grasp things just like how I grasp things, right? Is that people will sit up there and it's like the old school song. They smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. So backstabbers, they smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. The backstabbers. Yes, that's what's going on. Absolutely, absolutely. So you have to know how your element is going. You have to know how your environment is moving, and you got to stay on top. This is why self-awareness and environmental awareness is very, very, very important. So thank you, Blaze. Thank you. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Hey, Big Cap, thank you so much for coming and supporting. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Jen, thank you so much for dropping them links down for me. So like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all want more detailed content, go to their channel. Yes, I did. You called it, right? You called it. Yes, but like I said, please go to these individuals' channels. Like I said, Cellulite is live right now. Go stop by, tell them MJ Conversations with MJ sent you over if you want to see what's going on and keep it up to date what's going on in these Blktube streets. All right. All right. So the next part of this segment, and this is when I'm going to get a little bit more education, like how I used to do the intellectual part, right? So we all know, and I'm sure y'all are hearing and buzzing around the unfortunate events that has happened to another fellow content creator in this space, right? She is known as Isis. She is known as the trophy wife. She had built her YouTube platform on the simple fact that she was a single mother who was able to obtain a high earning, because we're not going to say high value, right? We're going to say she was able to obtain a high earning marriage with an individual. She was able to build her channel off of the fact of the tools and the tips that she have gotten in the level up part of women empowerment. She has gotten these tips and advice from these individuals and was able to cultivate her own YouTube channel in reference of everything that she did or what she knows that she needed to do to obtain a high earning man and what she believed sustained a high earning man, right? Now, from what I have seen from her video, which I really don't even want to play, and I'm not trying to play because it's trigger warning, right? It's a very triggering video. So please, if you want to, you can go to her channel and view the video yourself, but I'm not playing it for my community because it's very trigger warning. We are going to have the discussion about what happened and what is her side of this, of what happened, the trauma that affected a whole family. Because from what I know, there is 4 children that are involved with the family dynamics with her and her husband. However, the situation had happened to her 2 younger children, which are girls. Okay, so we're going to discuss that. All right, I'm not going to show her video. And shout out to Dr. Frizzo. How you doing, sir? Thank you so much for coming and supporting. I appreciate you. And let's see. All right, so here's what happened. All right, so from when I've seen the video, she's expressing to us that the person that she married had inappropriate touchings, probably I will say sexual assault to her younger children. Okay, so her 2 younger daughters has been sexually assaulted by their father. Okay, now this is a woman, like I said, she built her platform on obtaining a high earning man, and her following was on the basis of tips and steps that she was able to obtain a high earning man. And now a tragedy as this, where the man that you married, the man that you put on a pedestal and that you built your channel being his trophy wife, has now done something horrific to your children. And the even deeper, saddest part about this is that those 2 younger children were his children. Okay? Those 2 little girls were his 2 little girls. So a lot of the times we have conversations. There's been a lot of whereabouts and talks about how single mothers are being attacked or preyed on by men just so they can get close to their children, right? But here's the thing too. A predatory man don't care if it's somebody else's children or his own, right? They're the same level of being a monster is going to be there, right? Because she was a single mother. She had 2 children from a previous relationship, right? She had 2 children from a previous relationship. So she had those 2 children for her. When you see that video, like I said, please go to her channel to look at it in detail. It's very horrible and it's very hard to hear. It's very triggering how she came to find out that her children was violated and that her 4-year-old daughter told her who exactly did it, right? There was no, was it somebody else? Are you sure? Do you really think it was that way? No, right? So I also want to commend this mother in that aspect, that as soon as she became aware about what was going on, she did not hesitate. She removed her children out of danger, all her children, not just the girls, all her children away, notified the authorities, went and got her daughters checked out. They had to go to a different hospital where they do rape kits for children. And by the results, that was actually confirmed what the 4-year-old daughter said about their father, their other parent, having inappropriate touchings with them. It wasn't only the 4-year-old, he had inappropriate touchings with the 2-year-old as well. And it was proven by the rape kits, okay? So I wanted to talk about this because there is a lot of people who is attacking the fact that she was a follower from another another content creator that has a large following. So now people are trying to say that because she followed this said content creator and she followed the tips and advice to get a high earning man, that this is why she got the result that she happened. She got the situation that occurred. And I want people to understand that we need to look at things. Oh, hey, Robin. Hey, how you doing, sweetie? How you doing? How you doing? And I want people to understand that we have to look at things balanced, right? This is not the time for us to be pushing narratives that we want to push. We need to look at the situation in totality, right? That man, whoever she was married to, he was a horrible human being, okay? He was a horrible human being. And the fact that it apparently, from what we've seen and for what I looked on her channel, her whole channel was on the basis of nothing but pleasing him, right? She was the original trad wife, the traditional submissive, be fine 24/7, have everything set, food and everything prepared for her high earning man to go home, and she didn't have to lift a finger outside of that. She got whatever she wanted. She got whatever jewels, trips, or anything that she wanted. And now they're trying to use this situation as a way to frighten women for going after men who are deemed high earning or high value, right? This is the narrative that's going to be placed out there as a scare tactic for women expecting more from the mates that they are choosing. Hey, Freezy, thank you so much for coming, sir. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for the support. So I want people to understand about the history of trad wives, right? Because this is the problem that we have when we come down to these parasocial communities that we have set or placed in YouTube and the dangers of them, right? This is the dangers of influence. If you look at my title, okay? Hidden messages and the dangers behind influence. Just because we have numerous of people who are influencers and they have their own talking points and reasonings as to what they're trying to inspire in people, that does not necessarily mean that that is the right type of influence for you, right? Now, I'm not saying that we're supposed to limit or we're supposed to cut influence, right? Because if the message is not meant for you, the message is not meant for you, right? This is when we as adults or we who have the ability to operate on social media platforms, we have to give in. We have to decide what type of information we are going to put into our life, what works with our daily habits, tasks, our livelihood, our household, and what doesn't, right? We have to do that discernment and diligence. We cannot sit up here and blame every single person who has some type of idea, some type of ideology, some type of philosophy, and blame them when you made the grown decision to follow said ideology or psychology and actually implicate it into your life. We cannot blame people for that, right? But I wanted to talk about the illusions and the lulu that has been going on and being spread around traditional wives, right? I think a lot of people have this Cinderella Disney idea of what a traditional wife is and was, okay? Traditional wife or quote unquote homemaker, right, was not all rainbows and sunsets, okay? Not everybody's situation was the same, all right? And in fact, if we go by history, which I'm about to pull up an article, right? When we go by history, even that trad wife, whatever, not even around that time, most women still worked. Most women still worked. They will work in the fields, they will pick greens, they will plant vegetables, they will plant rice. Women still worked at that time. They were in the fields with their husband. So we have this warped understanding about what a traditional wife is and how a traditional wife really was back in the day, right? Now, I don't know if this is just a Disney thing, right? I think that we are being led and played into believing that everybody's situation is going to be the same type of situation that they seen on movies. Let me show you a prime example before I bring up the actual article, okay? So this is a actual screenshot. Who remember this movie? Who remembers this movie? Do anybody have an answer who knows what this movie was? I'll wait. So this are screenshots from a movie that was called Mona Lisa Smile, right? And Mona Lisa Smile, as you see, it has Julia Roberts in it. It has Kristen Dunst, and it also have, I forgot her name, I think Julia Stiles right here from Save the Last Dance, right? And in this movie, this was talking about how women were going to etiquette school or homemaking school, right? And they were going there, and some was going for education. They had education, but mainly it was just a place for women to stay and maybe get educated in some things, right? At this particular college, university, it was all girls university. They would get education and stuff, but truly it was only just to buy time until they were able to get a marriage, right? And in this movie, Julia Roberts was the antagonist of the social norm in this time. This is 1947's 1950s, okay? And she was the antagonist of society back then. While all the younger women and everybody was trying to get married, and you're going into the corner today, sir. You're going in the corner. You already came in talking. This is a Jive Turkey channel. Go in the corner. You're going to go in the corner today. Hey, Royce, how you doing? Yeah, so in this movie, brief synopsis. In this movie, she was the antagonist. She was a woman who didn't live by the rules of trying to hurry and get married. It doesn't mean that she wasn't a lesbian, right? She had relationships before. However, she did not want to be confined to marriage at that time because marriage would not have allowed her to become a professor where she would have been able to teach at the school. So she decided to take the career route and she started educating these girls. Now, here's the thing. Hold on 1 second. So here's the thing, right? So in this movie, Kristen Dunst was hellborn. Hellborn. Hey Zero, how you doing? Now he goes to the quarter with an attitude. You know what, world class? You know what? You should be ashamed of yourself. So Kristen Dunst in this movie was born into following the trope. You go to school, you get basic education, right? You know how to use a measuring cup. You know what ounces and things of that sort is, but pretty much everything was on the basis of anything that would make you a better wife, right? So she was the one who was head on, the most stubborn out of this lady's class about, well, women need to just go ahead and get married. You know, women need to just go get married. That's all we need to worry about. We just need to worry about what our husband and everything like that. So when Julia Roberts was in her class, she was trying to show women that, listen, you could love your husband. He could be great, whatever not, but there's things that you need to do for yourself too. And that's going to help better your relationship and you're going to feel good. You know what I'm saying? About when you do things for your family, when you do things for your husband, and you're going to feel complete. Kristen Dunst was so stubborn, she didn't believe it. She thought that everything that Julia Roberts was saying was heresy, right? That's how she looked at it, was heresy, because she was taught by her mother, you shouldn't be worrying about nothing but getting a husband. So long story short, Kristen Dunst ended up being the first girl in her class to actually get a husband. So she was so happy. She was a trophy wife. She was literally the trophy wife. She married some college football star. She was able to take pictures and say, "Oh, this is what I do for my husband, and I'm vacuuming and look, I'm reading Shakespeare and cooking." She would do stupid articles and stuff like that, right? To try to help women to be like, forget this school stuff, forget becoming an engineer or science engineer or whatever, not being good in mathematics.
Just get a husband. Now, what happened was is that her husband was never home, right? And she started to feel that the work was all on her shoulder. Luckily, she didn't have kids as of yet, but she was by herself. She was a girl that had codependency. So her love language was that she needed quality time. Her husband wasn't there. So she was there by herself. He was missing dinners and stuff. And unfortunately, her husband was actually cheating on her, right? He was actually cheating on her. So that broke her heart because she was actually in love with this man, and he was cheating on her. So she went hysterical because it's like, you were sitting up here throwing your marriage in these other women's faces and making it seem like your life was all perfect and stuff like that, but you are literally miserable at home, and you're taking medication and pills that, or what is it, uppers at that time. That's what they called them. Who remember the movie Valley of the Dolls? Get into it. Valley of the Dolls. Go watch that movie. But she was taking uppers, trying to cope with the loneliness and pretty much feeling like she got cheated out of her fairy tale marriage and fairy tale wedding. This is world class. This is Mona Lisa Smile. Mona Lisa Smile, right? So again, these are videos, even though, like I said, this is just a movie, right? But this is movie off of experiences and things that was happening within the height of trying to bring women back into the household, right? Because at one point, women had to go out and work in larger numbers. Even though women worked all the time, they just worked beside their husband. 1947s and going up to 1950s, women had to work at higher numbers due to war, right? So they were becoming the engineers. They were becoming the women who was building the engines to put in the planes so the planes can go get their husbands or help them while they were at war. They were the ones who was building the parachutes. They were doing all these things, right? And there was a push by society, by government, to bring women back into the household. So that's when they came up with the 1947 Good Housewife Guide. I'm glad they got rid of that thing. Oh my God, right? But to make, like I said, to try to make this as short as possible, I wanted to show you that there was situations where women were trad wives, and that's all they wanted to do. However, being a trad wife, not having to worry about any bill, but there was a lot of sacrifices that you had to deal with that. It was not all rainbows and sunset that people make it believe. And this is on both sides. A lot of people make it believe that it was all rainbows and sunsets and beautiful buttons and birds singing and stuff like that. They make you believe that that's what's going to happen if you participate in this type of lifestyle. And that is not the case. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing at all. You cannot guarantee anything. You could do everything within your due diligence and still it will mess up. Okay? It will mess up. So I wanted to show you guys that so y'all have a reference and understanding where this trad wife situation is coming from. But now I have an actual article to show you guys. Okay? All right, so here we go. So this is from Time Magazine. And this is a 7-minute read, so it's not going to be that long. Let me put my glasses on. You know, old girl status, you know. Got to get the glasses on. Okay, so Time Magazine says the truth about the past that trad wives want to revive, right? So here's a picture about 1850s Currier and Ives illustration of the stages of women's life. So if you look at this picture, look at it. You're a child, you're a little girl, you're a young maiden. Now you get married. Now you are a mom, have a kid. Now you're just, you're in middle age, Now you're old, you're getting older, you're like grandma. Now you like this, now you like this, now you like this, and then you die, right? But look how they picture the women when she gets older. She gets bent down. She can't even stand straight up anymore. This was very alarming to me because that just shows you how much wear and tear a woman goes through throughout her years. Look what she loses. Not only do she loses her beauty, now all of a sudden her posture changed. Now all of a sudden she only wears one color or one drape of clothes. She's not supposed to look attractive. Now her hair has to be covered, right? Look at this. It shows you how older in age she gets bent over and bent over and bent over. Why? Because throughout her years of her life, she is taking care of everyone except herself. So SD Williams faced her TikTok followers and detractors head on with a full makeup, coffee blonde waves, and a Florida printed puff sleeve peasant top cinch at the center with a tidy bow. She felt obligated to clarify a few things about what it really meant to be a trad wife. A portmanteau denoting traditional wife. So the man goes outside the house, works, provides for the family. The woman stays home and she's the homemaker. She takes care of the home and the children if there are any. But Williams' definition moved beyond the idiotic character of June Cleaver or even the Victorian era presumptions of separate spheres, right? Trad wives also believe, she insisted, that they should submit to their husbands and serve their husbands and family. Williams was quick to defend her position against potential critics, noting that she did not believe women were inferior to men, but that they had an equally important but different role, right? So trad wives have not escaped the notice of journalists and social commentators who track their popular rise on various social media platforms. Some analysis of the trad wife trend reference the 1950s, while others commentators focus on influences like Hannah Nealman, who is the queen of the trad wife, but she's ballerina farm fame, who performed the role of the 19th century homesteaders, despite Nealman's calculation of her husband's inherited wealth. But the ideology behind the fad has much deeper and more insidious roots in American history. So, although the use of social media and the power of trad wife influencers may be new, the use of media to reinforce conservative social norms is not. Women in 18th century Anglo America, for example, were inundated by conduct literature. Writing in magazines, newspapers, and novels that dictated how they ought to behave, especially in their marriages. Now, I've shown y'all the 1947 Good Housewife Guide. I've shown it. I have to find it again. And I shown y'all commercials that they specifically had for women, directed to women, about how they're supposed to behave, what they're supposed to cook, and what they're supposed to wear while cooking and stuff like that. It was literally insane how they used to put out media and magazines for what women are supposed to conduct themselves in marriage at that time. It was completely insane. Conduct literature provided women and men with pointed guidance about how to choose a spouse, right? Women were ostensibly imbued with a significant choice in this regard, yet this choice was highly circumscribed. Once she wed, she had little choice remaining within their marital union. The good wife, for example, was to be strictly and conscientiously virtuous, chaste, pure, unblemished in every thought, word, and deed. I repeat, the good wife, for example, was to be strictly and conscientiously virtuous, chaste, pure, unblemished in every thought, word, and deed. More prescriptions followed. She is humble and modest from reason and conviction, submissive from choice, and obedient from inclination. Okay? She was the helpmate or helpmeet of her husband, always making it her business to serve and oblige him. Her happiness was contingent upon his own. So again, when you look at the whole good wife, traditional wife, she had no autonomy. She had no happiness. It was quite similar to slavery, really, right? How people used to say, well, if master sick, we sick. You sick, boss, we sick, boss. It's the same way with this. Her happiness only was an extension to his happiness. So if he was happy, she's supposed to be happy. If he was angry, she's supposed to be angry. It was the same thing. Social expectations for wives likewise filled the pages of novels like the Coquette of 1797 and Pamela of 1740, which extolled the virtues of white femininity. These popular books were entertaining for readers, much like contemporary trad wives' social media posts, but also didactic in their demonstrations of what would become of fallen women who have chosen their partners poorly. For instance, Eliza Wharton, the Coquette protagonist, died giving birth to a stillborn, illegitimate child after eschewing a poet's suitor in favor of an attractive cad. So in that novel, in that novel, The Coquette, the protagonist died by by having a stillborn to an illegitimate child because she ran away with a suitor that she was actually in love with instead of actually going with the attractive Chad who had money and just going to be married with them. But this is what type of literature that they had back then. And then now I hope women can understand why women of other races are socialized differently than Black women, right? Because they even had novels back then that was telling European or white women that you need to marry someone of wealth, you need to marry someone who has money. That should be the focus. You should not marry for love. That we don't care about that. And if you do marry for quote unquote love, you will suffer. You will suffer. And that's what those novels that they were showing out there, that you will suffer if you marry for love. You better be right and you better be smart and marry for something else, right? So let me see who else is in here. Hey, Tequila, how you doing, sweetheart? Good to see you. Good to see you. No, it is not a Lifetime movie, world class. It actually was a movie that was in the theaters, and it was around for a very long time. You can find it on HBO, Netflix, whatever. It's a movie. Thank you so much, Tequila. I appreciate you for coming. Yes, trad wife, traditional wife. Yep. Who are you talking about? I had a sweet 16 last year. I haven't had a. I haven't had a sweet 16. It's been over 20 years since I had a sweet 16. Okay. Over 20 years. Yeah. Oh, she's stuck in a twerk moment when she got. You know what? Go in the corner. Go in the corner. not let's stop twerking before you get stuck. Like, you know what? Yeah, she had no autonomy. Yes, that's crazy. Nothing. Nope, she didn't have no quantity. You said obedience and silence 2024. Go in the corner. So let me tell you why, right? Because the obedience and silence is going to be you knuckleheads and you waterheads, right? Because nobody going to be talking to you. You're going to be talking to dry paint and dry wall. That's what's going to happen. So we won't have to worry about it. It's going to be a whole bunch of silence happening up to 2025 and beyond. Okay? So let me go back. So it said 18th and early 19th century American women's submission was not merely suggested in the prescription literature. It also had the force of law. Married women lived under the legal doctrine of coverture. Remember when I went over coverture about the ages of dating? Go back to my old my old live streams. I don't talk for no reason. Everything starts to make sense. In which their individual legal identities were subsumed under those of their husband. Like I said, they didn't have no identity. Back in those times, under coverture, the law, your identity was just your husband's name. So if your husband's name was Jon Snow, you, under legal documents, you were Jon Snow's wife. That was your name. Even though you was born Elizabeth Warden, when you got married back then, your name was Jon Snow wife. That's how coverture worked. The oft-cited legal commentator Sir William Blackstone, foreshadowing the reframe of the trad wives today, and asserted that wives' submission to their husband was for her protection and benefit, making her a favorite under the law. Right. In reality, coverture erased wives' independent legal identities under the guise of protection and care from husbands. This legal framework dictated that a married woman owned no property in her own name. Any wages she earned belonged to her husband. So again, you have people who are believing that traditional wives or trad wives didn't work. You believe that they sat up there pretty and all they had to worry about is having the best roller set in their hair possible, their nails polished red to the T, and as long as they had meatloaf ready at 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night when their husband got home, that was it. No, trad or traditional wives always worked. Only some were the ones who was able to be a home or a housewife. Traditional wife don't have nothing to do with housewife. Those are two different things. Because a traditional wife, way before 18th century, they still worked. Like I said, they were in the fields working with their husbands and rendering the children. Because you got to remember that goes with the whole religious aspect about being a Proverbs 31 wife. You had the work. You had to roll up your sleeves and get that grease and oil going with your husband. But now we have merged a housewife and traditional wife, and we have talked about them as if they're interchangeable. They are not. They have different meanings and different descriptions of what was a housewife and what was a traditional wife. Under curvature, wives had no clearly defined parental rights, and their bodies were not their own. Marital rape, for example, was not considered a crime in the 18th century and did not become a crime in all 50 states until 1993. It did not become a crime. It did not become a crime in all 50 states until 1993. Guys, that's not that long ago. We have 20-plus-year-old, 25-year-olds, and 26-year-olds who are in our chats right now who was born around in 1990s, in 1993, and at the time of your birth, your mother could have been subjugated to marital rape, and it wasn't a crime. Let that sink in, okay? Let that sink into our 30-year-olds and our 31-year-olds and our 29-year-olds and our 28 years olds. In this country, marital rape wasn't a crime in all 50 states until 1993. We had hip hop. We had hip hop. We had Biggie. We had Tupac. Listen to what I'm telling you. In certain circumstances, domestic abuse was condoned as a corrective measure to the submissive wife. Blackstone's commentaries indicate that moderate correction was permissible if it fell within reasonable bounds, right? So those are all code words for your husband was able to physically abuse you if he can prove, or in his way, he can prove in his mind that he had the right to, quote unquote, discipline you. And as long as, he didn't create severe bodily harm or something that could not be covered up with Maybelline or makeup, then it was okay. That's the code word of what they're using. Women's access to divorce in early American history was likewise limited. Some colonies and later states permitted divorce under certain circumstances, and the number of states providing for access to marital separation would expand over time. Though relatively few women availed themselves of this legal mechanism, given the other stringencies of coverture, life as a single woman and a single mother likely provided great trial for many. So what they're stating there is that the way how the system and the society was set up, at that time, life would have been very, very hard for a woman who did not marry and a woman who got divorced and was a single mother, right? And the reason why they made it that way, because if you can't have property, you can't quote unquote work on the books because you don't have no identity legally, right? So you don't have no legal papers to collect a wage with your identity. You was placing women, you were pigeontoling women to the point where they had to align with a man. And even once they aligned with a man and got a husband, she didn't own her wages. Her wages completely went to him. So that's kind of crazy, right? That you pigeonhole women into having, for them to survive, they had to be linked to a man. And even if they did work, none of their stuff went to him. It went straight to the man. 18th and 19th century women did not possess rights as full citizens in the United States. Historically, citizenship rights have been linked to gender, wherein the obligation and thus the benefits of citizenship depended on sex. Trad wives who claim that women are naturally suited for submission to male authority and thus deserving of protection from men are implicitly condoning women's second-class citizenship. So pretty much they're saying in that paragraph, the women who also agree with men that women should be second-class citizens. That's what they're saying. So yeah, she doesn't need no rights. She doesn't need the full extent of citizenship in America. Get a husband, everything would be fine. Coverture thus cast, it went too far. Let me check. There we go. Coverture thus cast a long shadow over women's rights in American history. Each generation of American women seamlessly needed to be reminded through the law, economic constraints, and even now in social media of the naturalness of her submissive role. These constant reminders, however, suggest equally constant remonstrations from women, albeit with mixed results. In the 19th century, for example, women's organizations sought to change the law at the state level to allow married women to own property in certain circumstances, finding some success. But it was not until the 1970s that married women had the right to obtain credit cards separate from their husband. So again, you couldn't get a credit card and get a loan and all that stuff like that until 1970s. Most of y'all mamas was born in the 1960s. So just think about that. Your mama, your grandmama, and everybody lived to the point of the fact that they couldn't even get a loan or anything like that. Y'all act like this was so long ago. It wasn't. None of this was that long ago. The 19th Amendment's passage in 1920s, nearly a century and a half after this nation's founding, granted some women suffrage, though it would be decades before all women could vote. Some women suffrage, so meaning wealthy women, women who came from a name and a title was given suffrage. Women could not serve on juries until the 1870s, although even the recent history of their inclusion has been mixed. So they said that during the 1870s, women can be on juries, but apparently that is not concrete, correct, or whether or not they, even though it was allowed, did they actually allow them? Did they actually pick them to be a part of the juries? Probably not. That's what they're telling them. So on page, it looked like, yeah, we was being equal and fair to women, but most likely in reality, that didn't happen. Trad wives often insist, as William puts it, that their choices don't mean that we are trying to take away from what women fought for. This is what they think it doesn't mean. In her video, she adds that she and other trad wives do not have an agenda. We all have an agenda, sweetheart. It's not really a movement. Oh, yes, it is. Nobody's pushing it. Oh, absolutely, y'all pushing it. People are typically just living it and maybe showcasing their lifestyle like me. That is full cap. Absolutely full cap. I have seen literally on social media women who are married attacking and going after women who are child free and single, talking about they're selfish and all this stuff like that. Man, why are you caring? Go make you something on your easy bake oven and leave people the fuck alone. Okay? Like, please. Let's see what y'all saying in this chat. I know there's a lot going on. Hey, Josh, how you doing? It's good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's see. Hey, Lana, darling, thank you so much for coming, sweetheart. As always. Yes, you're right, Lana. Only men with money had wives like that. Right, exactly. Not everybody had it. Let's see. Royce says, if they are sharing the same vision and passion, she would be happy if he's happy because they both want to. No, because I mean, she can be happy for him succeeding in whatever he's succeeding in. Like, who doesn't do that? Like, you as a man can be happy for your homeboy if he reaches goal. That's not something that's foreign. We are happy and supportive with other people in our lifestyle, in our life outside of our mate. And that doesn't mean that you don't need to have anything that you want to accomplish for yourself. Let's see. Women couldn't have have any passions. It was only about, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see. You can't assume that all these men did not care about their wives' happiness. Listen, it's not an assumption. I'm not saying that this was the case for I'm not saying that this is the case for every single marriage. That cannot be tracked. However, there is a other side to the situation. You have to understand that a lot of people back in those days did not marry for love. A lot of people in those days were forced to marry for utility. Look up relationship of utility. I implore every last one of you, look up relationship of utility. Just do a quick Google search. Use Google AI. Look up relationship of utility, okay? I'm sorry, most of our parents and our grandparents and our great-great-grandparents was in that type of relationship. That we like to go online and paint to other people as if this was some fairy tale story and Cinderella finally got her prince. It's not the case. Not everyone had that. Not everyone had a relationship of utility. Some were actually met with love. Some was actually, like, forced upon to be together, and they grew love as the years go by, right? That turned into a love romantic relationship. But nonetheless, there was relationships of utility. Let's see. And if you would like to support, you can hit my Cash App. That's I'll be more than grateful if you do like to support all this good content that I'm trying to push out for you, and for y'all to just look at things differently, right? It's not to take whatever I say to the Bible or the gospel or nothing like that. Absolutely not. I'm just saying this gives you more information to look at the situation in totality, right? So Royce says, I'm not the most knowledgeable about that time period, but I heard about women being writers and doing, yes, but even if there was writers and stuff, Royce, they did that in secret. Did you know that they did that in secret? Let me show you something. Let me see if I have a picture. How many people read this book? Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you read this book before. This is my favorite book, one of my favorite books in the whole world. Charlotte Bronte and Jane Austen is one of my, both of them are one of my favorite female authors, right? And in this book, Jane Eyre, which is a great one, she's also a part of who wrote Pride and Prejudice, who wrote, Mr. Bennet and, I forgot Mr. Bennet and I forgot the other one. Wuthering Heights, I think. But yeah, so this is one of my favorite books that I always read, and also I love the video adaptation of this book because it shows a lot of, especially with this one. This one showed a lot about courage. It shows a lot about a woman coming into her own, a woman who was literally, or a young girl who grew up to be a woman who was in the worst situation possible, right? She was married to, she was a daughter of a wealthy man who married a stepmother and her children, right? And she was supposed to be taken care of. The stepmother swore up and down that she was going to take care of her on her father's death. However, as soon as the father died, the little girl became her torment. She took the money and sent this little girl to an orphanage where she had almost died at the age of 9 because that orphanage was a religious kind of zealous orphanage who was very cruel to the young girls that were there. If you was found, they had to cover their hair and stuff like that. And if you was found too beautiful or you was found to attract the priests or anything there, they would cut off your hair. She had a friend there. Her friend had beautiful red hair, and then the priest found that young little girl, 9-year girl, attractive with beautiful red hair. He cut all her hair off, and then she ended up catching pneumonia and dying. That was her only friend that she had in there. She was beaten and all that stuff like that. When she got older and she was able to finally leave, she had a very meek, very shy, like a very small, broken, wounded bird type of personality. And then she became a governess. So when she became a governess, she was able to obtain a job from another wealthy man. The wealthy man ended up falling in love with her, right? She was a governess to basically teach an orphan that he was taking care of because he was dealing with her mother back in France, but the mother died from pneumonia. So he took on raising the girl as his own. So that's why he needed a governess. Long story short, he fell in love with her. She was supposed to get married to him. Now, she thought that she comes from humble beginnings. She lost her inheritance, right? Her stepmother kicked her out, didn't do anything for her. Then come to find out that the guy that wanted to marry her, he wanted to marry her because he was already married, and the woman that he was married to was mentally insane. She was crazy. He couldn't even get near her, couldn't touch her, and she couldn't bear him no children. That she just went whoop. She was out of it, right? So a big fire happened. She ended up going away. The rich guy ended up getting injured, but they end up coming back, finding each other, and she ends up marrying him in the long run. And her stepmother ends up dying, where she was actually able to get back her inheritance that her uncle, the father's brother, he left an inheritance to her because the stepmother lied and said that she didn't exist. So mind you, the stepmother, she didn't have to give the girl the money that the husband left them because she's the wife, right? So she didn't have to give that, and she had his children. So the uncle, he never had kids, and he wanted to adopt her and raise her as his daughter. but the stepmother had already sold her to the girls' boarding school, and then also wrote back letters saying that she didn't exist. So she went like 25, 30 years. She was always a wealthy woman, but she didn't get to obtain it until somebody actually came with the will from her uncle, and he left her all his inheritance. It's a great book. It's a beautiful book. I suggest everybody to go read it. It's a wonderful book. Definitely a wonderful book. One of my favorites of all time, and will be my favorite of all time. Seriously. All right, let's see. Okay, let's see. Are we back? Are we back? Are we back? Nope. All right, let me remove this. You said, how old was I book? Yeah, it will make you cry. And if you watch the video, they have numerous of versions of that book on movie, because she actually made a movie to it. So they have a Netflix version, they have an HBO version, they have a Cinemax version with different. Go look at it. You will cry. You will cry. Like, it's a really deep emotional book. And you said, how old was I when I read that book? I read that book when I was 10. When I was 10 years old in school, that's when I was reading that book. And till this day, with my old ass, I still read that book from time to time again, because there's so many other things that I probably didn't pick up on when I was reading it, that with me being, I guess, getting wiser and growing and understanding more words, I'm starting to pick and understand what certain paragraphs and certain sections was about in that book that I never understood before. So it's very interesting to see how my grasp of understanding about that book, changes as I get older. So it's lovely. Please go check that book out if you haven't read that book. All right. Let's see. I've got to put back. Let's see. All right. Now I'm going to put back the article so we can finish it up. And then I have 2 more other articles to read for you guys. Okay. I think that's good. Is it good? Okay, we're back. All right. But the glorification of these views obscures the reality of the consequences of women's submission and subordination, to men, whether it is a choice or not. Some do not want it to be a choice at all. Speaker Mike Johnson called for return to 18th century values more than a decade ago. An Alabama State Supreme Court justice recent a concurring opinion in the case, which ruled that embryos were persons under the law, invoked the 7 Mountains Mandate. Y'all need to go look up the 7 Mountains Mandate. Okay? I'm going to put that in the chat so y'all can go look that up yourselves. 7 Mountains Mandate. All right? Especially for my individuals who are in the Alabama state, the good Alabama state. Y'all need to know these things. Y'all need to know what conversations they are having in your state. Good to know. Which seek to impose Christian nationalism over many realms of American life, including government. There is even a growing movement to outlaw no-fault divorce in favor of promoting covenant marriages, meaning there is a movement where they're trying to remove the right to get divorced, for people to get divorced. Right? I'm not going to say that that's just only a woman thing. That's for men too. That whole covenant marriage means that you can't divorce your wife and she can't divorce you. Y'all are literally going to be biblically bound to each other for the rest of your life. So that means if you pick someone that you don't like, you pick someone who's abusive, and verbally or physically abusive or whatever not, you stuck with him or you stuck with her. Good on y'all voting. This is what y'all voted for. I hope y'all get what y'all want. Tradwives figure importantly in this movement. In many ways, they are exploited as pawns of the right, laundering extremist views and transforming them into ostensibly more palatable packaging. This was perhaps the intent behind Senator Katie Britt's ill-received response to President Biden's State of the Union address in early March. Senator Thomas Tumberville indicated as much, yet her performance of womanhood, her breathy vocalization dubbed Fundy Baby Voice by critics, appeared as empty as her kitchen and did nothing to soften the blow of her party's apocalyptic interpretation of current events. Yet, Tradwives also enticed their followers with soothing videos of sourdough bread making, an outfit of today's invoking Perry Chic or Donna Reed, with dangerous consequences. The advocacy for the ideology and principles of so-called traditional gender roles in marriage ultimately have the effect of promoting a return to the days of coverture and a erasure of the hard-fought, if incomplete, gains of women's rights activists throughout American history. And who said that women was not going to lose their rights? Who said women wasn't losing their rights? Who said? Let's see. Is there anything else that I might want to bring out? No. I think that's good. So that was a very... Oh, wait. Did I finish? I think I did. Yeah. I think I did. Yeah, so that was a very interesting read. So it gave examples of what's the truth in the past in reference to the traditional wife. So we don't have we're not confused about what the traditional wife was really about and how it affected people, what was actually really happening, what was going on, right? So I'm glad that we was able to read that. Now, my only thing is about this also with the situation that happened to ISIS, right? Another thing that happened is I don't want people to believe that the only ones who are able to do this treachery or do this heinous act will come from someone who is a predator who wants to prey on single mothers or the children of single mothers and stuff like that. They're waiting for you to be in a bind. They're waiting for you to be without, or you're longing for something. I don't want people to believe that, right? And I also don't want people to believe that only people of or men of means are the only ones that's capable of this, right? Because truth be told, you know who else is capable of this and who has been capable of this more often than the actual men of means? Poor people and poor communities, right? So I'm going to show you. You didn't miss nothing. Yeah, I hope she does well too, Royce. I definitely do. So which one are we going to look at? All right, so let's look at the CDCs first, okay? All right, so this is the CDC's about child sexual abuse, okay? So the key points is child sexual abuse is a serious public health problem and adverse childhood experience, okay? Child sexual abuse can have a long-term impact on health, opportunity, and well-being. Just in case anybody don't know what child sexual abuse is, child sexual abuse refers to the involvement of a child, person less than 18 years old, in sexual activity that violates the laws or the social taboos of society and that the child, right? The child doesn't fully comprehend, does not consent to, or is unable to give informed consent to, is not developmentally prepared for, and cannot give consent, right? Quick facts and stats. Many children wait to report or never report child sexual abuse, okay? Therefore, the numbers below likely underestimate the true impact of the problem. Although estimates vary across studies, the research showed at least 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 20 boys in the United States experience child sexual abuse. About 90% of the child sexual abuse is perpetrated by someone known and trusted by the child or child's family members. 90%. The total lifetime economic burden of child sexual abuse in the United States in 2015 was estimated to be at least 9.3 billion. So even child sexual abuse is hurting the economy of the United States. Outcomes. Experiencing child sexual abuse can affect how a person thinks, acts, feels over a lifetime. This can result in short, long-term physical, mental, and behavioral health consequences, such as physical health consequences, right? Sexual transmitted diseases or infections, physical injuries, chronic conditions later in life, such as heart disease, obesity, and cancer. Mental health consequences, depression and post-traumatic stress disorders symptoms. Behavioral consequences, substance use, misuse, including opioid misuse, risky sexual behaviors, meaning sex with multiple partners or behaviors that could result in pregnancy or STI, increased risk of perpetration of sexual violence, and increased risk for suicide or suicide attempts. Experiencing child sexual abuse can also increase a person's risk for future victimization. For example, women who experience child sexual abuse are at 2 to 13 times increased risk for experiencing sexual violence in adulthood. Additionally, people who experience child sexual abuse are at twice the risk for experiencing non-sexual intimate partner violence. So again, if you are a child and people who have experienced sexual abuse, they are at higher risk of being in DV cases. Twice the risk, actually. So they talk about prevention. So they said that adults are responsible for ensuring that children have safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environments. They have resources that focus on treatment for victims and criminal justice-oriented approaches for people who have committed child sex abuse. They have efforts that are important after child sexual abuse that have occurred. However, little investment has been made in preventing child sexual abuse. So meaning prevention is not the goal. Everything is aftermath. Nothing is proactive. Until recently, there have been few effective evidence-based strategies available to proactively protect children from child sexual abuse. More resources are needed to develop, evaluate, decimate, and implement evidence-based child sexual abuse primary prevention strategies. These strategies can help ensure that all children have safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environments. what CDC is doing. CDC surveillance system, violence prevention initiatives, and efforts to support partners in the field have increased our understanding of child sexual abuse. However, there are still critical gaps. Additional efforts in child sexual abuse prevention are needed to improve surveillance systems and data collection from monitoring child sexual abuse, right? Increase our understanding of risk and protective factors for child sexual abuse perpetration and victimization. Strengthening existing and development new evidence-based policies, programs, and practices for the primary prevention of child sexual abuse through vigorous evaluation research. Increased decimation and implementation of evidence-based strategies for child sexual abuse prevention. CDC has developed prevention resources for action. So that is PRA, formerly known as technical packages, to help states and community use the best available evidence to prevent various types of violence. So since 2020, CDCs have funded 9 research cooperative agreements focused on the primary prevention of child sexual abuse. These research studies include both policy and program evaluations at the community, state, and national levels. These studies support the vision of violence-free society in which all people in communities are safe, healthy, and thriving. So I wanted this, going to remove this one. I do have one more other stat to show you guys. Hold on one second. So let's see what they're saying in the chat. So in the chat, it says, Roy says, but I think rich people are most likely to use their power and resources to sweep it under the rug. They do it, but they're not the only one. And we see higher percentages of that being done with poor communities or very few resources. And I'm going to show you the article to prove that. You said, I don't have anything against women choosing men with money, but there's definitely too much focus on the money and not enough on the character as a man. Well, here's the thing. I think there has to be a healthy balance, right? Because a character of a man is not going to pay bills either. Okay? So there has to be a healthy balance. Listen, I have seen women who have went for the character of the man and have gotten crucified by the community for going after a man who the only thing that you was going to get from him is good character. And if something goes wrong or that person becomes a human being and does you wrong, do dirty things, now all of a sudden is you should have chose better. Where do you think that whole you should have chose better? Oh, why are you dating someone or are you giving somebody your body by just going, this guy taking you to Red Lobster or to the movies and stuff like that? Y'all cannot, and I'm not saying y'all as in men, I'm just saying people who have these talking points. You cannot be on both sides of the fence, right? You cannot 1 minute condemn women who do date men who are not of means, who are without, and they believe that this person might be without when it comes financially, and they bank on them having the character and the morality that they need to be in a relationship with someone, and they end up being a bunch of fucking waterheads and liars, and then sit up there and say that it was your fault that you dated a broke man or you dated this blah blah blah. And then on the same breath, when a woman say, okay, well, I'm not going to date broke men, I'm going to date a man of means, and then now say, well, it's your fault that he has a horrible character because you care about too money that much. You are spreading women thin, and y'all are destroying women's discernment. And you're doing that because you like women to be in the gray. You like women to not know how to move because that allows y'all to have access to more women if they not align specifically on the opposite side of the pole. If a woman's in the middle and she's haven't set her goal on what she's going to go, guess who, how many people get access to her, right? The broke dude get access to her and the rich dude get access to her. But nonetheless, if those situations don't work out, she still, as the woman, is going to be crucified by women folk, men folk, the community, and society. So let's keep it 100. Let's talk real here. The only time nobody has nothing to say unless the situation works out. But let the situation don't work out, whether if she's with a wealthy person or a poor person, she's still going to get criticized and get the backlash for everything that went wrong in that relationship, that it was not successful. It doesn't matter. She's still going to get it. And I've seen it. I've seen it, and I've also experienced it. So I know. I know. But let me show you the proof. Yeah, exactly, Lana. Yes. They have hard people to deal with on both sides. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, hold on one second. Hold on one second. All right. So this is another article. Let me pull out the link. If anyone cares to come up and join. Hi, how you doing here for the tea? Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming. Most appreciated. So yeah, this article is from the National Library of Medicine, right? And I have decided that I wanted to show you guys this because like I don't want the narrative to go out there where we're going to scare tactic women into believing, oh no, I can't get with a man of means because he most likely is going to touch my daughter, right? Because truly that would be foolish, because then if that's the case, any man that who's trying to obtain wealth or resources, are you gonna lump them in the boat that they're only trying to obtain wealth and resources to violate you? Are you gonna say that? No. But I think we need to understand that the thing that happened, the tragedy that happened to that poor woman, it can happen to anyone, and it happens in any social class. It's not just only what she was trying to achieve and what she was trying to give to her children a better life by having a high earning man, because that's why I'm calling him a high earning man and not a high value man, because obviously a man who would commit such atrocity cannot be a high value man. So he only had the money behind him, apparently, right? But to show you what I'm talking about, so the National Library of Medicine, they said the influence of childhood sexual abuse on adolescent outcomes, the roles of gender, poverty, and re-victimization. Okay? So let's read the abstract. It says the research on childhood sexual abuse, CSA, has focused on adult re-victimization and outcomes. This article examines the rate of child maltreatment, victimization among male and female children reported to Child Protective Services for CSA and whether victimization impacts outcomes. Using longitudinal administrative data, Cox regressions were used to examine relationships between initial report of CSA, maltreatment, re-victimization, and adolescent outcomes among children from poor and non-poor families. Despite non-significant differences in CSA rates between poor and non-poor families, poor CSA victims were significantly more likely to have re-reports for maltreatment. Children with multiple reports were more likely to have negative outcomes. Interventions for CSA survivors should focus on preventing maltreatment reoccurrence generally and not ignore needs of male victims, right? So it says that the childhood sexual abuse, which is CSA, is a serious public health problem experienced by estimated 25% of girls and 16% of boys in the United States by the age of 18. This is from 2005. That stat was from. Although not all cases of CSA are reported to or investigated by Child Protective Services, CSA is experienced by many children in the child welfare system. In 2011, 9.1% of the 676,569 children maltreatment victims in the U.S. were found to be sexually abused by the Department of Health and Human Services of 2012. In addition to experiencing CSA, many of these children experience other types of maltreatment. One study found that among children initially reported to CPS for sexual abuse, 77% of those reported to CPS a second time are reported for a different type of maltreatment. 93% of those with a third report. These experiences of cross-type recidivism require further exploration. So apparently, if a child gets reported for, let's say, the first report that they get report for the for CPS is I think somebody's in the back. Hold on. Hello. Sorry about that. I don't know how long I had you in the back.
That's okay.
How can I help you, sir? How are you doing this evening?
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Good. I'm just coming in on the tail end, so
Okay.
go
So
ahead and continue.
yeah, so I'll just give you a quick synopsis, okay? So I was pretty much talking about what happened to this poor content creator. Her whole channel was on the basis of being a traditional wife, and she also wanted to marry up, you know what I'm saying, like high value, high earning. So she married a guy. She thought she had the perfect wedding, the perfect husband. She built her whole channel of being a traditional wife, subservient to him and everything like that. But unfortunately, her husband ended up being a monster. He sexually abused or sexually assaulted his two daughters that she had with him. One is 2 and one is 4 years old. So now that is what's going viral right now on YouTube, because everybody knows that how she built her channel, what she built her channel for, glorifying this man, and this man sexually violated his own daughters. These are not step daughters. These are his own baby girls. So what I'm explaining right now by bringing up the CDC articles and also the national website of medicine, while I'm bringing these up, I'm wanting to show people that, listen, this kind of horrible, heinous crime and act can go throughout all social classes. This is not just a wealthy man thing, right? We see sexual abuse and child sexual abuse in the poorest communities just the same, and that there are things that we need to worry about. There's things that we need to look into. Where we say that some of the influences that we have out here on YouTube is distorting our discernment on things, right? I definitely believe that, but that is literally the gist of what this topic is about tonight.
Okay, so someone, well, not someone, a male has violated two young girls that weren't his.
No, those were his daughters.
Oh, excuse me, they were actually his biological children.
Yes, those were the kids that he had with her when they got married. Because she had two. The thing about it is why a lot of people's calling out, because she was a single mother. She had a previous relationship where she bared two boys in that relationship. So the guy that she recently married, I think about a couple years, she had two children with him, which was two little girls, and those were the girls that were sexually assaulted by him. Now, at first, when she said the story and I heard the story on her channel, it's very trigger warning. Her expressing herself about what happened to her girls, but it was confirmed that this actually did happen because she went and took those girls to have rape kits done. And it's been confirmed that they were touched by the father. And it was the 4-year-old that actually told her that daddy touched me. So she's like really I really feel for this family because, number one, that's traumatic. Number one, it's not like she wasn't in love with this man, right? Like she built her whole platform about being this traditional woman to this guy, thinking that he was so perfect and amazing, some savior and stuff like that. And then now to have this happen, she's getting a lot of backlash because she was a part of the Level Up community that's on YouTube. So a lot of people are saying, well, you took this advice and bad advice from this content creator and that content creator, and look what you put your daughters through. Look what happened to your daughters. That's what is being said right now.
How do you think it's any credence in that?
I think it's to a limit. I don't think everything is with credence, because there was also something that I also noticed too when her reading, when she was telling her story and what happened. There was one part where she said that she was that her husband had marital raped her about 4 times, and this was before the incident when she actually had found out that he was touching the little girls. So a lot of people was like, well, wait a minute, if you see that he's doing that, then if he did that to you and you had that situation or that issue with him, why would you think that the next step wouldn't be the other female, the other women in the house? So a lot of things is being said. There's a lot of different ways that that people are attacking the situation. So
Okay, let me ask you a question. What, based off of your opinion and how you see it, what is marital rape?
Well, let's see. Marital rape is literally sexual coercion within a marriage. That's just literally what it is. When it's not consentful. It's being forced. It's being forced by some threat, some fear, or losing without, or something like that. That's just what coercion is. And that's what marital rape is. See, the problem with it is that a lot of people want to believe that there's no such thing as marital rape, and there are. It is. It haven't been on the books that long, like I have stated before. Marital rape haven't became completely a crime in all 50 states, not until 1993. So I understand that that's somewhat of a tradition, or people didn't think that was possible when you're married to someone, but it is. It definitely is. And it's a crime.
Okay. So you said this is it actually became a term in 1993.
It actually became, no, it's not a term. It became a official crime in all 50 states in 1993.
Okay. So when people come together and to be married, you believe that someone has a right to withhold themselves for any cause inside of a marriage.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
Because of the simple fact is, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Now, you seem like a very manly man, right? And
Mhm.
you seem like you don't like anybody, you wouldn't let or allow anybody to play around, let's say your derriere, right?
Mhm.
Now, if you're stating that in a marriage, right? That everybody should get whatever they want or whatever, not my body's your body, your body's my body. If that was ever brung to you,
Mhm.
would you be okay?
No, of course not.
That's the reason why.
Okay. So, barring, okay, let's say you come into a marriage, and of course, certain things that we see in, out here that people are doing, I don't participate in. So, let's say, me and, my woman have agreed upon that, hey, that other weird stuff we aren't doing.
Mhm.
Um, but prior to that, anything that is causing harm, sickness, or a violation of what we consider is consensual sex, um, there shouldn't be a situation where I don't even like using this, but I guess this is I guess using sex as a weapon.
I think that that's the wrong, yeah, I mean, that's not a good way to say it, because there is no using sex as a weapon, right?
Hmm.
Because the simple fact that all sex is supposed to be consensual, right? You had to get consent when you was dating them. Why do you think that don't have to have you don't have to have consent once you married them, right? That person still has the right to tell what is comfortable and what is not comfortable to them. They still have the right to say, hey, I don't like that, or I don't want to do that, or this is not a good time. They don't lose that in a marriage. Like I said, that's why I pegged the picture, with you for that example, right? Like you
Hmm.
said, there's certain sexual acts that you would not partake with. Now, if you're saying that your body is her body and her body is your body, then if
Hmm.
she said that she wanted to partake in those acts, if you want to go by that, you would have to accept and agree. But even
Absolutely.
though deep in down in yourself that that's not something that's going to happen. So again, this is why this is why I believe that this is why there is a sense of marital rape, because at one point it's not consensual, and the binding contract of marriage doesn't allow you to take someone's consent away. It doesn't, because consent is supposed to be something willingly give. And once it's not willingly give, once it's enforced, once you apply pressure or fear or a loss of losing something to it, you are now dabbling in the world of coercion.
Hmm.
That's the reason why. But I understand somewhat what men are saying, right? Because you're feeling like, hey, listen, if I'm marrying you because I am committed to only being sexually active with you, and being open with you in that way, and other things, right? Other things are part of that. We all know that that's not the only thing with marriage, right? But that's what the main kind of contract is about, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, there's going to be times when you're tired. There's going to be times when you're sick. There's going to be times when you're not going to be in the mood, or whatever the case may be. And that is, you're going to have the mindset that your partner, your mate, your loved one understands you well enough to understand when you're going to need that time to chill, that time to let me fall back a little bit, let's get close, or let's be intimate with each other in another way. You know what I'm saying? Now, honestly, if it's something like you get married to somebody and then there's like 6 or 7, 9 months in where it's always the same, let's say, I guess the same situation that is happening consistently all the time, right? Then that's when, I mean, I don't know, after a month, if there's no conversation that's happening while y'all not on that, on that level anymore, that type of intimacy anymore, then you have a bigger problem. You have bigger problems than just sex. Okay. If there's no communication or anything happening, because that means she's not having sex with you because she doesn't want to have sex with you. That means that it's something deeper than that, right? There's something off, just something that she is not vibing with you about anymore, right? Because our emotions in our head and how we feel emotionally in our head and our heart, it has a big part in our sexuality and how we show our sexuality with our loved ones. So if that is not connecting, ain't nothing down there happening. You know what I'm saying? Nothing down there is happening, and it's completely different for us as women, as in with men. How y'all don't even have to be emotionally attached to what your natural body part will do when it's that time, when you're in, when you're in the mood, when you're in heat. It's completely different for us.
Absolutely. So the reason why I asked that, because I knew I can, have a sensible conversation. So, and you had already leaned to it. So, of course, there's never, and I'm talking about an actual man. I don't think an actual man who actually loves a woman will want to violate her to the point where she's saying no, and you're going past that threshold and actually forcibly trying to enter her. What I will say is, say that what you about to say?
I was gonna say that sometimes you would say a man, but I'll tell you one thing, truth. I was on Lapeef a couple weeks ago, almost a month ago, and we was having this conversation, right? And these men were saying that there is no reason for their wives, outside of her being morbidly ill or whatever, not like that, for her to deny them, right? And that she will have to find some compromise, even if she's sick or tired or anything. She will have to find some compromise to fulfill whatever he need at that time. And they got highly upset at me because I pegged the same question to you. I pegged the question to that man, and I was like, so if you saying that if that's your wife, that ass is yours. I said, so when she wants your ass, is her ass yours? All of a sudden, they got offended. They got their britches in the butt. Oh, you're being offensive. Oh, what are you trying to say? I feel offended. You trying to say that I'm like that? I'm like, no. Look how you're even talking about your wife. This is you. This is the woman that you said that you love. This is the woman that you said under God that you adore above no other. But you talking about she better, it doesn't matter what she do or how she feeling, she better scoop her butt up and that ass is mine. Okay. A man who gets married under the religious covenant saying that. Yeah, this is what's happening out here.
Hold on. Now hold up. Now, two things. All right, so I will say this though. If you go like a lot of people don't want this, but this is if we're going religiously or
Keep
I would
talking,
say
keep talking. I'm just
biblical.
gonna go get something to drink. I'm listening.
Okay. So it's in First Corinthians chapter 7. That's where it talks about the wife's body is her husband's and her husband's body is his wife's. And do not, take a long period of separation between the two unless it's by fasting and prayer. And they come together quickly so the enemy don't tempt you. That's how the verse goes. So what happens is when you enter, and again, this is why culture and us understanding each other, us actually loving each other, and us actually getting to know each other the correct way so you can see if this person is who you are. And are y'all equally yoked on all, aspects? Because from my understanding is this. If a woman does not, from what I know, usually women that actually like and are sexually attracted to their mates like that, they usually will not go a long period of time without having sex with their mate. And one thing they do love to do is they actually love pleasing the person that they love. This is what's great about, women is when they actually love you, they adore you, they want you happy, they take care of you, and they take care of you by the greatest thing that they give is themselves. They give themselves over to you, and you know, y'all love each other, y'all like each other, y'all have a good time. What's happening is people are getting with each other, and they're getting with each other off of intentions and agendas. So let's say, me and you got together, and I got with you um, because of let's say certain certain things that you do, and you got with me because of monetary reasons. But we didn't have no connection there, like really. It became more obligatory and like sporadic that okay, because we're married and I'm available, you're available, we come together. But there's no real connection there. So it's going to be more times than not you saying, hey, like, yeah, I just don't feel like it. There ain't nothing really, ain't nothing wrong with you. You're not sick, you're not hurting. It's not that time of the month. It's not a sense of where we're trying to have a sexual act that is in violation of you or myself. It's just we don't have that connection like that. And what happens is that's where you have long periods of time where people are not, coming together. Um, to be frank, I'll put it like this. I'm gonna see if I could ask you this. Was it ever a time that you felt in that type of situation where if you didn't, then it would be a problem, or you guided yourself to where you engage with someone? Those type of connecting times never were a problem.
Oh, so I would say I never had that issue, right? There has always been an understanding with the people that I was with that we both still have autonomy over our bodies and the things that we want and the things that we like and within our comfortability because we have boundaries, right? We have
Mhm.
boundaries that we don't want to break because once those boundaries are broken, then all trust is lost, right? And to bring it back a little bit with the topic is because with this lady, right? When she
Mhm.
said that, she said it very quickly, and then she led into what actually happened to her daughters.
Mhm.
Now, the situation is if you felt, and if she felt, because obviously she did not report. She said that this happened numerous of times. So she
Mhm.
never went to the authorities and reported it, right? Even though that is how she felt that she was raped by her husband. And then now the only thing that led to her to actually do something about it and get the authorities done is when the innocent children were actually now, touched and without their will or their consent, or they're not even of the age to consent, and is horrible anyway, because that's your own father, right? So that's incestuous. So my point is that she had already seen from her experience with this man as her husband what he is capable of doing. And because she thought that it was okay, or she tried to pass it as this was okay behavior of a man because you are legally bounded to him, that it is okay to just do things out of your comfortability. That is what led him to think that it was also okay to violate the boundaries of his children. You see what I'm saying? And for her to sense those kind of weird characters in them, because like I said, even if you're in a marriage and let's say you want to have sex, the other one don't want to have sex, or you don't want to have sex and the other one have sex, a healthy relationship where y'all are connected mind, body, and soul, there should be some conversations that are happening that needs to happen prior to the point where you're actually about to, act upon of having sex, right? And for that not to even be there, and it gets to that point, because if there was a conversation that was had before, she would have never thought that this was, oh, I'm being great. You know what I'm saying? I'm being great, or I'm being forced without my wishes. That means that she didn't feel like she had no say so, right?
Right. Let me ask you a real quick question. I'm gonna let you go right back in. Are you saying that every time that like let's say I'm ready to have sex, I should be asking instead of you know, going to try to make love to my wife?
Well, here's the thing. When you're having sex with someone, what do most people do when they're trying to even alert the other person that they want to have sex with them? What do? They flirt. They get a little touchy-feely. They get a little sensitive in emotions. They get a little sweet nothings in your ear, Little kiss on the neck, little nibble. People always have signs that they will show whoever they're interested in that they want to be intimate. So I don't understand where that stops at, even when you're in a marriage. Like, you still will be like, hey, honey, I wore this nice little lingerie for you, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always hints and stuff that we have always done to allow the opposite sex that know that this is mating time, right? Nobody's going up to people saying, hey, you just need to bend it over. Like, that's not even sexy or romantic or intimate or nothing like that. It's weird. So you you just don't go to somebody and you just grab them on the arm like a freaking caveman and then bend them over, and mind you, I don't know what anybody kinks is. I'm starting to learn the kinks of the lifestyle, whatever. Not I'm vanilla.
Yeah, no,
I'm starting to learn that shit.
Weird.
But some,
all that. Nope. That's what I was just talking about. All that grabbing and no, I ain't nope. I ain't all that weird stuff.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm gonna be, I'm trying to be fair, right? Because some people like that. You know what I'm saying? Some people like that. Ooh, just throw me against the wall. Like, okay, whatever. Not. Some people enjoy stuff like that, but that is in the compound of that relationship in their dynamic. So with that being said, I wanted to read a little bit more of the childhood sexual abuse thing, and then we can, if you want me to stop, we can talk a little bit more about that. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it says, in addition to experiencing the CS, I think I read this already. I think I did. Yeah, I did. Okay. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Okay. It says CSA affects both males and females, but less is known about male victims. Also, CSA has been linked to a number of long-term negative consequences, including an increased risk of delinquency, mental health, and physical health problems, suicide attempts, running away from home, and substance use problems, right? However, it is unclear how outcomes vary by gender and whether or not these outcomes are related to CSA once reoccurrence is controlled. At least one study recently found no gender differences in later outcomes, but outcomes were limited to self-report and caregiver report for externalizing and internalizing behaviors. So with that paragraph, what they're saying is that a lot of CSAs for males or young boys are unreported. They have long-term negative consequences, and we also see that within a lot of poor communities, disenfranchised communities, where the social norm of that community is that, you know, you're not supposed to tell, right? Or if you do tell, you might get you might get bullied, you know, or people might say it's your fault, you wanted it, and all the stuff like that. And then when it comes down to the young boys, we have heard, I have heard men literally root little boys on who have been sexually assaulted by older women or been put in the presence or the vicinity of older women to sexually assault them. And it was supposed to be some man, you know, some you know, graduation to manhood and stuff like that. So there's very toxic, taboo things within communities and cultures and stuff that can lead into why young boys stats on CSA is unreported, or we see long-term effects of how they act or they conduct themselves when they get into adulthood, having very risky sexual behaviors. And what do you think about this?
Yeah, that's the the sad part, and especially the ignorance of parenting is when we start promoting child promiscuity and you know so to speak growing up too early. And it's sad that the first thing we think of growing up and maturing is animalistically participating in things we ain't got no business doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would never promote that to my children. I have never promoted that to my son.
Mm-hmm.
Thank the Lord, so far from what I know, he has kept himself separate in that manner and
Mm-hmm.
focused on, improving himself as a man and being prepared for the one day that if he participated in that, it's with someone he loves.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's a real thing.
Right.
I think we do, especially that aspect. We need to make it more comfortable for younger boys to be able to say, "Hey, this is not a knock on your manhood that you spoke up against something that you did not want to happen, even though it's what we would consider you're doing something to someone else." But like you said, the coercion of it all, the manipulation, the deception, the fact that someone is clearly taking advantage because you really just don't know no better.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to be, yeah, definitely reported. And we need to promote boys doing the same thing as well as our daughters.
Yeah.
Speaking up is okay. Don't worry about, well, try not to worry about the shame or anything that comes with it. The main goal is try to protect you right now from what just happened because it shouldn't have happened.
Correct. No, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. It's unfortunate that they said that even with the reported stats that we have, that is highly more young girls than males, even within the stats that we already know, there's so many that has not been reported. So we're not even getting the whole story or the totality of how much of a public health issue this is really is, and that we have been dealing with for quite some time, right? Like I will hate to even fathom how many is actually unreported when the numbers that are reported is so high, right? And I wanted to read this because, like, we know that right now we're in the area, or we're in the era, I should say, where a lot of narratives is going to be spilled out about this situation that happened to this lady and many other situations that's going on in the spaces, right? Um and I want the truth as much as possible to be put out there, not the narratives that's going to be swung, because some people are going to violate her about, oh, you listen to said content creator that told you to do leveling up and only marry such and such man and have the high value, high earning man, and your life is going to be perfect, and look what happened, look what you subjected your children to, right? And then you have other ones that's going to paint this picture, as in this wouldn't happen if you are with a man who a man who is not of means, but then he has better character. And I want the truth to be out. The truth is that you can come across a man who is high earning and he can have very poor character as a human being, as a man, and you can also find that same type of man in someone who is not of means, right? Is certain things that we need to be looking for outside of relationship of utility, right?
Correct.
Or
Bingo.
relationship of lust, right?
Mhm.
We should be enacting more in relationship of kindred spirit and trying to find someone who is yoked with you, kindred spirit. That will give you the long lasting, healthy relationships that most people are actually desperately dying and looking and seeking for. And I will, like, to me personally, when I heard that, when she said the marital grape thing, I did feel a kind of way. Like, I feel very bad for her. I feel very bad for those children. But I felt that, you made excuses for what was happening to you because you wasn't looking out for yourself, because you got accustomed to the lifestyle that you built your channel on, and now the now look how, what, because you didn't do what you needed to do for yourself, look what happened to your children, right? And this is where women also have to think about your self-interest and what's good for you, especially when you have kids. That also is going to affect them. So you think that it's not, but it could affect them, and you have to be a little bit more careful about that. Like for
Yeah.
me, instance, if my guy is showing any rapey vibes, I'm sorry, if he's showing any rapey vibes, and like I said, there's a difference between being attracted to your woman and wanting to be with your woman than having grapey vibes, right? But if you're
Mhm.
sensing that this guy has grapey vibes, don't wait until a horrible situation like this to happen to react, right? You really need to take these signs that you're getting seriously and acting on it so you can prevent other things to happen.
Correct. Correct. I definitely agree with that. Um, I think because this goes back to a conversation that we had before, and I was stating that we have a big problem of identifying um, people that are just not healthy for us.
Mm,
And usually, like, if you usually can tell why somebody dealt with them based on, what they speak about, what they like, they're targeting in their life. Like you said, this was a guy of means, correct?
yes.
Okay, so if she was, pushing and agreeing and going along with that narrative, that allure to, to acquire that man, that could have blinded her. And like you said, if this man is showing these type of behaviors and he's doing it to you, and he's feeling though he's getting away with it, what is stopping him from going to the next level.
Correct.
That's usually how evil works.
Yes,
It's like it
that's
take
what I'm
one
saying,
step,
right?
and then it's like, okay, I got where here. Let me take another step, and it just
And it
it
keeps
gets
on
to the worst.
spiraling
Yeah,
out of control.
yeah, it gets bad. So
Right.
I think, like you said, she should have did a better job of understanding who she is and care for herself more. To know that regardless, whatever lifestyle he is providing you, you still don't deserve what you're receiving.
Correct.
You should have came in a better manner.
Right. And that's what, and like I said, I don't know for sure, but I think that that's what it was, right? I think that she didn't act like she acted immediately once she found out that this happened to her children. But she didn't act immediately where if when it happened to you, you didn't react, right? And I believe it had something to do with the relationship of utility, right? You got comfortable living a certain type of lifestyle. You build a platform, you build a brand on the basis of if you want a high earning guy and you want to go get flown out, go on trips, buy Birkin bags and things of that sort, and your kids are going to be, set for life, you need to do A, B, C, and D. And if you go to her channel and view her channel, you'll see it yourself, the things that she was promoting, right? And I think that part of what her brand was and what it stand for was the reason why she felt guilty, and that she felt that it was her right that she had to endure that, right? She felt that that was her punishment, like her consequence, that she had to endure that for that type of lifestyle. But then all gloves was off once her babies got hurt. Like at that point, mommy bear came out and nothing else mattered, right? She just wanted to get her kids out of there. She didn't get only the little girls that got affected. She got all her kids, her two boys, her older boys. She got them all out the house. Called the cops, went to the hospital, got them all checked, got the confirmation, and I don't know where she's at now, but she definitely removed herself. And then I think the husband is going to get prosecuted going forward, right? But I felt that she put herself in a situation where she was punishing herself. She was punishing herself, making the decision to make a brand out of this uplifting, this putting this guy on a pedestal and saying this is why y'all women ain't getting a man like this guy, or you don't have my husband and whatever not. And when those things started happening to her, she felt that that was her punishment that she had to literally sit in and deal with, and it's hard that there's a lot of women that feel like that when they're in a relationship with the wrong dude, that you'll have their mama, they'll have their own community tell her that that is your fault and you have to sit and deal with your consequence and endure, right? But the simple fact is that that person is even going through that is the consequence, right? There's no other added needed consequence that needs to happen. Like this woman is dealing with her marriage bubble being popped, right? Um, she invested so much, right? Um, Now those horrible acts happen to her. Is like, how much is she supposed to deal with the consequences? Like, how many consequences is she supposed to have? And I think that sometimes as a society and a community, we don't look at the bigger picture about how many consequences when men and women endure having bad relationships and what happens in those relationships, why they break up. We don't look at every single consequences that happens, right? Like if that person loved that person, do you really think they wanted the relationship to end? You know what I'm saying? Or get broken up, or get their heart broken, get cheated on, betrayal, whatever it may. Do you really think they wanted that to happen? So they're already suffering with that. and then all the added other elements that can happen, like for example, DV, marital rape,
That was my next
cheated.
question. Do you think she loved him?
Yes, she did. Because if you go on her channel, she used to show him a lot, and they were in, and she was all about him, all about him. Like, I think truthfully, she had the Cinderella complex. And I spoke about this on my last channel that I have, not this one. She had to me, I believe she had the Cinderella complex. And with the Cinderella complex that was coined back in New York back in the 1980s by a psychiatrist,
You're
it's
the
pretty
first
much
person I heard use that. Continue. Other than myself, but continue.
really.
Yep. The first person ever. Yeah.
So with the Cinderella complex, the Cinderella complex is an illusion that women is to put women in this very strong codependency, that they're
Mm-hmm.
waiting for their knight in shining armor to save them from their cruel, horrible stepmother who has them on the floor cleaning the floor with rags and stuff like that. And this knight in shining armor is going to scoop them up, put the glass shoe on their thing, and everything in their life is going to be perfect and everything's going to be happily ever after, right? And it creates a sense of codependency in women for things that they should still be in control of, right? I'm not saying the things that they're supposed to share responsibility or even relinquish to a person worthy to relinquish that to. I'm talking about things that is really only they can fit and fulfill. They give that up, and they also giving it up to anybody. It's like
Yep.
anybody who wants the job,
They're that way
right?
with everybody.
Right. They'll do it with anybody. It's like anybody who fits the bill will get that type of treatment, will get that type of access, will get to know you inside and out like that, right? And it's damaging, and it causes a warped type of understanding of relationships between that said women who are suffering from Cinderella complexes and with real life and reality. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that that's what I see with the situation, that she had that type of complex, and now her life is upside down. Really, her life is upside down, and how she views everything. Like, she got the man that she wanted. She got the man that she wanted. She was able to marry the man that she wanted. The man had the money, the finances, the title, all that stuff like that. But then look what he did to her. Look what he did to her children.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this because I saw it, and this is the last.
Oh, hey, we unlock. How you doing? Go ahead, Truth.
Yeah. This is because I saw down at the bottom it says, should women, what was the last question at the bottom of your title? Should women stop providing love? Something like that? You muted.
That was from my other stream.
Oh, and it's still down there?
Yeah, no. And so this one is hidden messages and the what is it? Hidden messages and the dangers of influence.
That's
But
weird.
my other stream was talking about, I wanted to ask that question. Should women remove the concept of love when it comes down to dealing with men or picking out suitors? Because the reason why I wanted to peg that question is because sometimes when it comes down to who we love, we can love the wrong person, right? Or we love what makes us feel good, but even what makes us feel good doesn't necessarily might be right for us, right? And that can also lead us to have be put in those kind of harsh situations. So I was thinking, if women went back to the mindset of how they were back in the old days, when you when your parents or everybody chose who you were supposed to marry, and then it had nothing to do with love, right? Would that be better? It should women start thinking like that when they start getting in connections with men? Should it be outside of that love dynamic? That's what I was asking that question.
Right. Now let me ask you a question because you brought up this word and
Mm,
you made this word actually popular. Limerence.
yeah, yeah.
Is what's going on love or is it limerence though?
Well, to me personally, me personally, and I don't know. I'm just only my opinion. I don't know shit. I'm a pupil. I'm a student to learn. But me personally, I believe that mostly what's coming out here, what's out here now, is limerence and
Okay.
not love. I
Mhm.
truly believe that a lot of people in our generations have not really truly experienced love.
I agree.
I think that there's more to love than what people actually really think it is, right? It's truly, if you really think about it, love is dutiful. And most people are not duty bound. So
Exactly. So that's where, so now we're here. That's why I was asking if she really loved him, would that be a factor of the disconnect about the sex part? That would
uh
be the first thing. Not as a definitive, just to give
uh-huh.
you a little bit way to just something else to look at.
Yeah,
And
I
the
mean,
second,
I would say, like, here's
well,
the thing. I would say with that, with the sex part, right? If
mhm,
you really go on a basis, right? Like, let's say let's kick it biblical right now. And you're the right person to talk about that, right?
mhm,
So truly, sex was only really supposed to be used for procreation, right?
correct.
So unless you're trying to bear children, right?
Hmm.
You're really not supposed to be having sex casually or as recreational, right? You're really not. So that's not even the covenant of your marriage. Like, when you have sex in your marriage the first time you get married, that is just to solidify the deal that y'all are of one soul, one flesh, and one mind, and one body, right? But after that, it is the couples that are deciding to use sex as something, as a healthy sexual lifestyle within their marriage. So with that being said, that was never really a part of what you do. There's I don't outside of saying be fruitful and be merry, you're only supposed to have sex if it's going to produce children. That is it. But we know that there's many people, many couples, and married parents, married marriages are who are having sex to have a sexual lifestyle, a healthy sexual lifestyle, and not necessarily bear children. So that's the only reason why I like to stay away from that, that aspect, because of the simple fact is that it really can't really be used as dutiful, because
Well,
unless as long as like, if you're
mhm.
doing everything else that is required of you when it comes down to the said Bible, in reference of you being a husband and you being a wife, that is your dutiful part. It doesn't have anything to do with sex unless y'all come to the term that y'all want to have another child.
Well, so if we're going specifically biblical, I just read the verse. If you want me to read the verse
Hmm.
verbatim, in that verse, so in that verse is talking about coming together as often as possible to so that your lust of who you are is not burning and then you give away to the enemy. So marriage is for two things. It's like you said, the number one thing was because so to help us participate in the greatest gift, which is creation.
Hmm.
That's the first thing. He also constructed to be while you're creating it for it to be pleasurable and bring you guys closer together. That's what it means by if you look throughout the Bible, it says whenever a man would come, he would say he knew his wife. So sex was all it's a bonding tool for you actually to actually get to know that individual. It's a spiritual connection. So as you constantly are doing these things, you're constantly connecting. It's like a perfect analogy is a TV you plug into a wall. It continues to get power as long as it's plugged up to that wall. If it's not plugged up to the wall, it's not being in use. It's no good. So we're like the TV. You guys are the endless power outlet. When we enter you guys, a lot of people don't understand what that is. You guys heal us. We actually become healthier. We become smarter. We become more of a man. Our testosterone goes up. Our ability to create goes up. These are all things that have been scientifically proven through sex. But that's why specifically you are supposed to be doing this with just your wife, because that person that your DNA, your chemistry is getting used to. It's why, sometimes, people will have sex with other people and then the woman's, body will get thrown off. Her chemistry does not mix well with that gentleman. It can happen. And then other times she'll, deal with the person that she used to and her body is used to, and then it don't go all out of whack no more. You see what I'm saying? So those type of things is supposed to be signals. Okay, we're in the correct standard of how to do it. So we're supposed to be having as much sex as possible, but it's only supposed to be with the person that you love and your wife. What we did, we perverted it. We then started saying, and namely men, we perverted it. We said because we have this innate thing to, spread our seed, bring our likeness into this world, it's meant for multiple women. No, the Bible says, be with the wife of your youth. That way you guys can expend your lifetime having as many children as long as she's healthy to bear. You see what I'm saying? That's why back in the day, you have people having 14, 15 children because they're getting together at 18 and then they're living all the way up to 80 years old, still having children in their 40s. You see what I'm saying? Those type of things. I know. That's a lot.
But I'll tell you what, man. Like a lot of us ain't built like that. Okay, you gotta understand. Grandma and grandpa and great grandma and grandpa, they have a whole different DNA than we do. Okay, we full with a whole bunch of shots and and vaccinations and fatty food and face.
Yeah, we all messed up. That ain't happening now. Yeah, we would never, even if we wanted to try to have that many children, we could. We all out.
I ain't even gonna front. I really do think that some part of the changing of our food supply has something to do with that. With
we talked about that on Sharon's show.
Control.
That was a great show. I gotta find it. Remember, we was all talking about the foods and everything. That was.
I really do believe that. I really do believe like maybe that was also part of include of trying to keep control of the population. Because it just seems that a lot of women cannot produce like that anymore. Like my grandmother had 6 children, right? My grandmother before that had 10 to 12 children. My father had 15 children, right? So it's just like, I don't see those type of numbers like that anymore. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it doesn't have to do with, limitations of resources and maybe even a little selfishness, per se. But nonetheless, I just see like body wise, we're not even built like that to be having kids like that anymore.
Oh, heck no. A lot of us, if we try to go in 3 or 4, we're knocking on death door.
Yeah.
And then, let alone, not just you guys, we can't even do it right enough to have that many children.
It's even bad too because there's a lot of this discrimination, medical discrimination that's going in the hospitals, that even some women are losing or potentially losing their lives after just trying to have one kid.
One child, yeah.
That's how bad we got. Like, eesh. All right, let me finish reading this article, and then we can continue talking.
Okay.
So, using an ecological transactional model to frame our research, this analysis helps fill the gap by examining childhood victimization patterns related to CSA for males and females, and then examining whether CSA predicts negative outcomes prior to adulthood. The ecological transactional model posits that combinations of factors with varying levels of proximity to the child dynamically interact within multiple nested vessels. So that is microsystem, exosystem, and macrosystem to influence the development and outcomes of the child. Risk at any level of the model can negatively interfere with the child's trajectory. Working within the framework, we examine microsystem level variables, so that's gender and race, exosystem variables, that's caregiver, mental health treatment, and arrest, family poverty. And macrosystem variables are census tract poverty rates for their potential influence on maltreatment, reoccurrence, and adolescent outcomes. So they're saying between microsystems, ecosystems, and macrosystems, this is how they are actually coming out with the stats where they can show where child abuse or sexual child abuse is occurring most often. Is it occurring between race? Is it occurring between gender? Is it occurring between whether if you have access to treatment or mental health treatment, whether or not if your family is in a lower social class or a higher social class that they can obtain that type of resources, whether a arrest or a conviction happens, right? Because we also have to talk about the CSA that happened where there is no arrest. And like they said, 90% of CFAs happens from someone that the child knows or a close family member. Is that person still around? Do you have to see that person at the cookout? You see what I'm saying? Do you have to see that person at the next wedding or the next big family event? That's what they mean about the exosystem. Then we have macro system variables of when the census are able to actually track the poverty rates of when these are occurring, the CSAs are occurring, right? And to see whether or not if because you come from a low income community or you're under the poverty line when it comes down to social economics, is that another reason why these things are taking place? What do you think about that paragraph that I just read?
Well, okay, so is this a situation where, do you think this is a situation where it's going to be more than what it is now? Do you think it's going to, like, these type of situations are going to grow in number?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so
Let me give you my reasons why. Okay.
no, go.
So the reason why I think that these numbers are going to skyrocket is because a lot of the states that has absolute abortion ban state are also states that are known for child brides. There are also states that are known for a lot of ancestral behavior. And these things can be pulled up, these stats can be pulled up. So I do see that the number of these things occurring, right? And then also there has been a thing going on in the courts where even people who are convicted of doing these type of acts or criminal acts against children or underage young adults, they're not serving very long times. Like there's still people who are serving 20 years for a weed bag, where there has people who have committed sexual assault that gets out within 6 months and also have to do community service and therapy. So it's being looked at when it comes down to the judicial courts that these sexual violations are not as traumatic or or dramatic as it is being led up to be, and there is something that can be ultimately fixed with counseling, a good support system, mental health therapy or something like that. And because at the end of the day, hey, Sal. Thank you for coming. Did you like my shout out, Sal? I gave you and Robbie a shout out. I heard people was hating on me. It's all right. It's all right. They'll learn to love me one day. I'm a nice person. They'll learn to love me. They'll love to learn me. They'll learn it. They'll learn to love me. It's gonna take them time. It's gonna take the time. But I think that's the reason why we're gonna see higher numbers, because remember what I said on my little 30-minute live stream? Did you remember my little 30-minute live stream? My blackout live stream yesterday, right?
Yep.
What did I say? I said that evildoers, who do they hide under? They hide under decent, good people, because that gives them more time to affect more people.
Yep. Hide in plain sight.
Yep. So that's why, I think that's why it will increase, and it's unfortunate, really. It seems that a lot of people are pushing for our youth, our young individuals to start mating quite earlier or dealing with each other quite earlier, but I just don't like the way that they're going about it. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I just don't like the way how they're going about it, right? That's what's annoying me, right? I wouldn't care if a 17-year-old and a 17-year-old, they get together as high school sweethearts and they end up marrying and they're starting their life like that, and they have a good solid foundation with family and with the church, you know what I'm saying, like in their community. I wouldn't shy about that. Like my nephew for one of my older sisters just recently got married. He's 24 years old, and he married the woman who had his child. And guess what he's doing now? He's a preacher. He's a preacher in Virginia. You know what I'm saying? So like, I wouldn't shy behind that. I wouldn't. It's just that it's like the way how they're trying to push us there that's the issue. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, we don't care about the egregious things that can happen because of that push to do that, right? And I personally believe that everybody's important. I'm not willing to sacrifice not one young adult, not one young man or young woman to the horrors of when things don't go the way that it's supposed to do.
Right.
I think that everybody's important. So unless we can move it in that direction, so we won't have that too many strays that fall off, then I'm always going to have an issue with it. That's just me personally.
All right. And this is my last. I got two final questions.
Okay, sure.
From your POV, how can you tell when a man loves you? Well, first, have you been able to identify that a man has actually loved you, or you being MJ?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and how could you tell?
He get on my goddamn nerves.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Yep.
If I don't want to kill him by like, I don't know, like 8 months or to a year, then I don't know if that was really love. Like I would say, like, for example, with my son's father, right? God bless his soul. I love him to death. He's such a good friend to me. But I knew that he actually really loved me. He annoyed the shit out of me. He was just like my father. In fact, my son
Mhm.
father
Yeah.
literally had the same birthday as my dad. They shared the same
Ooh.
birthday. So yeah. And my dad, I loved him to death, full of wisdom. Miss him every day.
Yeah,
He
that's
annoyed the goddamn shit out of me.
mhm.
But
That's the one.
in some things, they were really right. And I can appreciate that, they didn't tell me things that I wanted to hear. They told me things that I needed to hear, right? And this is why sometimes I have the forgiveness um with people who do attack, and or I think that they're attacking me, because it's only in hindsight where I realize who really gave a fuck about you and who
Right.
really didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
and you own it's unfortunate sometimes we only see it when we're out of the stink of it, right? When we're not full of all the cloud and the gas and the funky air that's, affecting your motion and making your nose turn up. You don't, you don't realize it when you're in the midst of it. Like you're like, Dad, you know what? That kind of makes sense.
Right.
That was actually right. That was actually right. And now I see it from where they were coming from, but then that makes me appreciate and love them every more. So, yeah, if you get on my goddamn nerves, and it's something like, so like really, but like not get on my nerves that, oh, I hate you because you're so mean to me and you're trying to be mean to me. No,
He
is,
can't get enough of it.
oh, I hate you because I see what
Always
you're
around.
talking about. Ugh.
Yeah.
you
And see
know,
that right there, I don't think, and I think this is the biggest problem. We, what you and your child's father shared, believe it or not, a lot of us have not had that.
mm,
Where, you know, for a fact, whether we're together or not, I love you. We're going to always be friends. I always want what's best for
yeah, that's my
you.
family. And he
Yeah.
tells me every day. Like when I call him and then we have our
Yeah.
conversation about our son, and I call to see how my son's doing out
Mhm.
there, boxing class that we got him in, and all the stuff like that, getting him in shape and all the stuff. He always say, I love you guys. He'll say that to my mom, because he loved my mom. My mom is like, he treats my mom like that's his mom. He bought her a fucking TV for her damn birthday. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you raggedy motherfucker. You bought my
That's his
mom a
mommy.
TV and not me.
Yeah, that's his mommy.
I'm like, you bought
Yeah.
my mom a TV and not me, you raggedy ass. But I'd just be joking for him, really. But he'd be like, listen, guys, I love y'all. I love y'all both. And I can call him for anything.
Hmm.
Anything, and it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Even if I needed to talk to him, if I, because he's the one who always tell me, he was the one who told me to start dating again. He was like, you too good of a person. You need to be out there dating.
Right.
I don't want you to be a cat lady and shit like that. Because he knows me. He knows me that once I get in the zone, it's a wrap. Like,
Yeah, you good inside a relationship and outside.
right,
You're the
exactly.
same way.
Right. So that's
So
why he was like, I don't want that for you. Go out, date, go outside, do something, get out the house, whatever. That's my friend. That is my real, true best friend, And it's unfortunate, it's unfortunate some that, other people don't have that type of experiences with relationships that did not necessarily work, but
yeah,
y'all still have that connection and friendship because it was more than just lust. It was more than just what you can get out of each other and stuff like that.
correct.
It was genuinely created out of something. You
And
know,
that's why I think that's where we suffer from. That's the reason why I
what
wanted
have
you
we
to
always said
expand
that's
upon
your
that
mama.
because if majority, yeah, that's funny. Majority of us, if we could actually tap into that, like I said, I have found it, and it took me so long to find it, and I have that now.
That's good.
where I basically for a long time felt alone, that someone didn't
Mm,
understand me. I could love someone, but did they actually love me just for me?
that's awesome.
And that's why I asked it that way. How did you ever have someone love MJ?
Hmm.
Not her accomplishments, not how she looked. The fact that her qualities that make her up, she's the only one that got it in that basket. So
Yeah.
all the stuff that make you're the only one that got it in that system. There's no
Yeah.
other like you.
I would definitely say that that was definitely that was definitely my son's father.
Yeah.
Definitely my son's father. Like, like I said, like to me, he's my best friend. I don't look at him in any sexual attraction. He doesn't look at me in that way. Like I said, when he gets married to his girlfriend that he'd been with for the past because we've been separated for the past 10 years. Once they finally get married, I'm one of the bridesmaids. I already told them.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm one of the bridesmaids. You just tell me when to show up and I'm there. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna be so totally fucking happy for him. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely, 100%. She's a
If
great girl
we can
anyway, so
find
I
a
love her
way
death.
to actually love each other on that level, if we can find a way to do that, I think a lot of the perversion, the evil, the not caring, it will start to dissipate. If we can find a way to say, hey,
Mm,
let's, put aside having sex for like, let's put that aside. Let's find out exactly, do I care about you? Do I actually love you? Do I actually like you? Your quirkiness, your jokes, all the little stuff like, the way you cook, the way, you snore,
mhm,
the way you catch attitudes, the way you handle things, the way you think. All these different type of things before we, like you said, put the convolution and the cloudiness of emotions through, sex and vibing and having a good time, because those is going to come if you actually like each other and love each other. It's
I
going to come.
agree. I agree, but is you know what I think the problem is that we are not in a society that actually pushes that forward, right? We're in a society that use love and use marriage and use dating and use hookup culture and use all these things as a lucrative billion-dollar industry business to sell sex toys, to sell sex humanoids, to sell porn, to sell dating apps, to sell overpriced, highly expensive marriages on many different continents and vacations and beach marriages and stuff like weddings and stuff like that, right? We are in we're an economy and a society that allows that to be the main goal. So it actually benefits our economy if we have families that are ruined, people who break up, people who have divorces, um lonely loneliness epidemic, right? All of these things have transferred over into making money for us in our society. So they're going to promote it, especially when these are billion-dollar industries. It's not a billion-dollar industry as everybody's getting hitched and everybody has an understanding and everybody is religious bound, because guess what? Religions are, when it comes down to churches are tax free, right? So just think about it. It doesn't do them any good. It doesn't do the government and all that stuff and all powers that be. It doesn't do them that good for everything to be actually yoked as much as possible. They need all these disparities to happen and occur. So they're going to promote it and they're going to push it forward.
Right.
There's money to be made.
Yeah. Lots of it. So, that's why I like having conversations, with people such as yourself, because you know how to compartmentalize, you know how to make sure that you keep your emotions here, you keep reality here, and then you also can make sure to remind us that we need to start moving towards what's right. And it's like instance right now, you're bringing up a situation where this is what the reality is. This is happening to women. This is happening to women in marriage. But
Mm-hmm.
you're also willing to have a conversation to say, hey, yeah, even though this is happening to women in marriage, I will never deter someone to say, hey, don't try to shoot for love. Actually start taking your time and trying to find out if this is love and then
Yeah.
move forward.
I would say like this, like it depends on I like I said, I'm just trying to bring out truths and just topics, right? I'm
Mm,
not trying to change anybody's narrative or perspective, but I think that the more information that you get out there, the more clearer understanding about what is going on and probably what is going on in your dynamics of things. And then I'm leaving it on to you, bestowed upon you, what God have
mhm,
given you, intellect, intelligence, in your form, a sense of perspective and logic, to decide what is the best route to go for you. Right.
mhm.
So, for example, if you're a woman that is not even really that emotionally like bind, right? You should be, if you're gonna mate or join with a man, your mindset would be what are the attributes and things that you need to make a successful marriage that is going to be conducive to you, conducive to him, conducive to your, your children, right? Investing in your children's future. If you have that mindset and emotional, you're not as emotional, or your emotions are more regulated than the average woman per se in relationships, right?
Yeah,
Then you should think about maybe not love being the highlight of your relationship, right? But you can still join with a man in utility, but a healthy one, right? That y'all on the same agreement and boundaries of what this relationship is all about. But then for other people, that is, they're very gooey, gushy, fairy tale love, and that's what they want, right? So now, great, that's not a negative. That's not a negative at all. If in fact, that's a beautiful thing that you want to be emotionally in love with the person that you're laying down with, right? You want to wake up and be happy to see this person, happy to kiss their face, what I'm saying? You find gratitude that you found someone that is so special to you, and vice versa. Great. Guess what that's going to do? That's going to take more work. That's going to take more you sitting back and shutting everything else down to really think, to really see if that person feel that way about you, and do you really feel that way about that person, right?
right.
Or are you really up for the task? Are you really up to actually sit, be patient, and wait to get what you want? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Patience.
that's why I feel like if we give all the stories, where however it comes, if we give all the information out there, then people can put the information together to see what works for them. you know so
Exactly.
I would never I would never try to paint a narrative to people that do it this way, do it that way. Shit, like, everybody know I just recently had a failed relationship. Who the fuck am I to be talking, right? So that's why I said we're just having
Yo, you know
conversation.
what? See, yeah, I ain't fool with you. But that's yeah. You know what?
But it is what it is. Listen, there's no shame. I have no regrets. I grow, I get better, I get more cultured, you know what I'm saying? And I'm still me where I need to be me at, you know?
Correct. And
So that's all
that.
that matters.
I'm glad you. Well, I'm not glad that you brought that up. All right. But since you brought that up, it just shows more of how usually when people go through traumatic things, they can kind of tilt towards one way because emotions set in, and pain, certain things that you go through. But for some reason, and I guess this speaks to the type of person that you are, you were able to still remain the individual you were previously prior to the relationship, and still been able to get back to that person. So that way you don't swerve from, like you said, from one narrative to the next. You provide people with information so we can have what's called an informed decision to make.
Right. Right. That's all this is. It's just getting informative. Just that's all. That's really like the crux of my platform is all about informative information. It is not to spearhead any different type of route or whatever, not to do anything, it's just only about information, things that you might not have known, things that you might know that I don't know. I want to learn from people. People should learn from me, and we should transfer this knowledge, because if we transfer more knowledge, we just become more educated, you know what I'm saying, and more cultured as individuals.
Gotcha.
Yep. So let me just finish off with this,
I
and
am
then.
going to call it. This was excellent as always.
Oh, okay. Thank
And,
you so much for coming up and rocking with me a little bit, Truth.
of
I
course,
appreciate your help.
always. You have a great night, and I'll be still checking in.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night, sir.
Good night. Bye-bye.
All right. So here, and we're going to just finish off a little bit of this. So let's go. So it says the factors associated with child sexual abuse. Individual characteristics. It says studies have found that the gender, age, and race are associated with the risk of sexual abuse, victimization, although questions remain. Research consistently indicates that girls are sexually abused at higher rates than boys, at a ratio of 2.5 to 1%. However, sexual abuse is underreported by both genders. Risk for CSA is believed to increase around age 6 and again at age 10. However, the data from the 4th National Incident Study of Child Abuse and Neglect, that is NSI-4, indicate a recent increase in rates of sexual abuse among children from birth to age 2. If the first sexual abuse experience occurs at an early age, this may increase the odds of sexual re-victimization during adolescence or adulthood. Although a review of the literature by Putnam of 2003 indicated that race and ethnicities are not risk factors for CSA, the data collected for the NIS-4 found significantly higher rates of sexual abuse among Black children than white or Hispanic children. So what this paragraph is saying, that even though they're trying to say that race and ethnicity is not risk or consider risk factors of child sexual abuse, when they have collected the information from the neglect NIS-4, it shows that Black children have a higher rate of sexual abuse than other races of children, which is horrible and quite unfortunate. Horrible and quite unfortunate, really. Let's see. Several maternal characteristics have been associated with risk for child maltreatment. Found that children of mothers who give birth at 17 or younger were nearly 4 times more likely to have a report of sexual abuse by age 5. So I'm going to read that again. They said that the several maternal characteristics have been associated with risk for child maltreatment. It says that they found that children of mothers who gave birth at 17 or younger nearly 4 times more likely have report of sexual abuse by age 5. So they're saying that children, and mind you, this is from stats from 2011, 1999, 2008, and 1999. Again, they're saying that the mothers who gave birth at 17 or younger around those times, they were 4 times nearly most likely to have been reported for sexual abuse by age of 5. Children of mothers age 18 to 19 were nearly 3 times higher risk, and those whose mothers were 20 to 21 at birth were close to 2.5 times higher risk than children born to older mothers. Other studies support this finding. Merksey, Berger, Reynolds, and Gromsmoke. Also, children whose mothers have not completed high school are at 1.5 times the risk of having a maltreatment report increases. However, the relationship between education and criminality and CSA specifically are not clear. So that's very alarming how it seems like child abuse reports are happening more frequently with children whose mothers are younger instead of women who are of older ages. Parental mental illness is associated with the increased risk of child maltreatment. Having a parent with mental health disorder approximately doubles a child's risk of physical or sexual abuse. Moreover, some studies also indicate parental mental health issues can exacerbate adjustment problems for children following a report of a sexual abuse. That's unfortunate. So if you have a parent that might have a mental health disorder, that can double a child's risk of physical or sexual abuse, which I find that kind of astounding, because just think about all the mental health issues that are happening in many different communities, or literally in our society in general. A lot of mental health issues is being undiagnosed, unchecked, or not even being diagnosed, period, right? And to say that one parent can give you a higher risk of your child from dealing with any form of CSA, which would be maltreatment or sexual abuse, that's very alarming, as into why we are seeing numerous of reports online about kids are being losing their lives for maltreatment, or they're being found to be starving, or there's a case where 2 parents are being arrested because the starvation of a 5-year-old child or a 6-year-old child. And I just recently seen many reports online about that happening. So that's quite frankly very, very highlighting an issue to me, that this is something that is actually really happening out here, and it does link up very, very well, right? So let's go on. While it is possible that patterns with increased mental health problems are in treatment, there is little research that specifically addresses the effects of parental and mental health treatment prior to a report of abuse, or on longer term outcomes of the child. One exception was a study conducted in the United Kingdom that found that maternal history of psychiatric illnesses increased the risk of maltreatment by 2.34%. If the mother was of psychiatric illness, if the mother was engaged in mental health treatment during the childhood, the risk of maltreatment was 3.65 times higher. So they're pretty much saying that in the UK with this study, they said that if a woman was basically dealing with or engaging in mental health treatment, meaning that she was going to seek help, or she was under some type of form of medication and been diagnosed, that the children that was in her care would suffer or possibly suffer from maltreatment by a rate of 3.65. That's very alarming, right? But not necessarily, because we also know that women who have high testosterone has been considered a form of mental health mental health illness that can also affect how a woman feels about her child, meaning when they did a test, most women who unalived their children has very high levels of testosterone in their body when they did the test, right? And this is why it's very important to have your hormones checked and regulated. Sometimes it's not just a mood thing or a mood swing. It could be something actually really going on, and you want to really get that checked out if you're starting to feel forms of animosity or aggression towards your own children. It says one exception was study conducted in the United Kingdom that found that a maternal history of, I think I read that. Okay. It says it is unclear whether or not maternal participation in mental health treatment as compared to need for treatment is associated with the risk of CSA. That's just crazy. Wow. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right. Are y'all still with me? I know it's getting kind of late. That's why I'm trying to run through this because y'all good folks. I want y'all to get rest, get sleep. I know there's some other people that's having lives on and stuff like that. So, I'm trying to look out. I'm trying to run through this stuff. So, have mercy on me. Family poverty significantly increases the risk of childhood and maltreatment. Boom. Children in poor families are 3 to 7 times more likely to experience maltreatment. This is likely due to higher levels of family and neighborhood risk factors for maltreatment among poor families. The risk of CSA specifically has also been found to be associated with poverty. So yes, poverty has a big play on child sexual abuse. And I wanted to make that known, and I really wanted to stay on that because the simple fact is that I know one of the narratives that's going to be spilled out over this ISIS woman is that because she picked a man for quote unquote wealth and means and security in that way, that is why that happened to her daughter. When in fact, we are living in communities now today where CSA is happening to plethora of children, and it didn't have anything to do with money. All right. So we don't want this to just make this a man of means issue. It's pretty much there's a lot of issues that's going on out here, mental issues, all things of that sort. So we want to make sure that we have all the information out there. Various community characteristics have also been found to be associated with maltreatment. Chief among these is neighborhood poverty. The higher the poverty rate in the community, the higher the risk of maltreatment. Neighborhoods with the highest poverty rates have sexual abuse reporting rates 4 times higher than neighborhoods with the lowest poverty rates. So again, if you have high poverty rates, they have higher reports of sexual abuse, 4 times higher than that. And then remember, even the reports and stuff that we do have, that does not count for the stuff that has not been reported, right? There's far more unreported issues and situations with CSA, child abuse, child sexual abuse, than the ones that actually are reported. And this is a very, very long thing. I'm not going to continue to go through all that because they have charts and all the stuff like that. But what I will do, I am going to copy and paste the link. So if you want to go ahead and review this yourself, you will have the information to go view this yourself. All right. So here, so we're literally at the end of the show. So that's really what I really wanted to go through and go with today. We learned a lot about, the situation that happened online with the lady. Unfortunate that has happened to her. Prayers is with her and her children. I hope that they get all the healing and the treatment that they need. I will say that we need to be careful with the forms of influences that we are having online, right? And being careful to navigate the information that's coming out there, right? Whether if it's informative, whether if it's conducive to your life, and not just be very mindful of the type of information that you're taking in. Double check, triple check, do whatever you have to do, reassess, take it out a little bit, reassess it, put it back, whatever you have to do. This is what you're going to have to do when you get this type of information, and when you're going to implicate it into your life or implement it into your life, right? I hope that all of y'all have a wonderful, wonderful night. It's already been the 3-hour mark. And I gotta get up. I gotta rest and go get my hair tied. I need to go get a retie. So I'm gonna be going ahead and hit the hay and getting the rest, because I got a 9 o'clock in the morning to go get my hair done. So as always, thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate you.